Give it up again for Ricky. So, what's up, everybody? Hey. I'm David McKerracher, and I thought I was going to be sitting up here with Alex and Ezra, but I think they want me to introduce them before they come up. So I'm going to say a couple things about the night first, and let me see if I can stand up with this thing. Okay. Here we go. Welcome. It's good to have you all. Lots of people showed up tonight. That's fantastic. This is really just woo. Hey, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, this is a sort of dress rehearsal and also at the same time launch and also homecoming. It's a lot of things all at the same time, and also it's a reunion. And so it feels really good to be here and to see some people, some old friends and new. And so the night's going to go like this. I'm not going to MC a whole lot. That's the joke was that I'm not McKerracher, it's MC Kerracher. Ha, ha, ha. No, basically what it's going to be is just I'm going to hang out with my old friends, then I'm going to hang out with my new friends, then I'm going to hang out with all my friends. And that'll be the 3 segments of this thing. And there will be a music interlude between old and new. And that will be Glimmerditch, a.k.a. Tony here. And then after the new friends, it'll be something I've never seen before, which is Ricky and Tony playing together. And if it's anything like the sound check, it's going to be really good. So, I liked how everybody seemed to gather and be present for the interludes. I think they're as important as the actual podcast portions. And so this will be the first out of 3 years of live podcast touring that I've done where there's actual real musicians playing between the sets and not just like playlist music. So I feel like we're leveling up here in a lot of ways, and so that's really exciting. So give it up for the musicians, and let's welcome to the stage Alex Chaffin and Ezra Danger Winfrey Christopher. Yeah, all the middle names. Yeah, get that on there. Check. What? He needs a mic.
Press the power button.
On this? Oh, there it is. Do I sound like that?
This is interesting, huh?
What's up, guys?
What's up,
Welcome.
buddy? How are you doing?
Welcome to the show. So, and I forgot to say, to the people on the internet that will see this in the future potentially. So Theory Underground. You're watching this probably on Theory Underground, but also, pretty much this whole segment is actually me on their podcast, State of Things.
Our first in-person guest. We talked to Katie that one time on the phone.
That's true. Katie was a part of that.
Yeah. We haven't posted that yet, though.
I don't know if we ever will.
What? Do I need to be closer?
No, Alex needs that microphone.
Yeah, come on, man.
Face.
You want this closer?
Come on, man.
All right.
Think about it.
How's it sound now, everybody?
That's a little much, maybe. That's probably not good.
Do you have this guy on?
No.
Well, one over here, and then that one's. They're just in the middle, dude.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were testing them in the.
Yeah, that's. Yep.
What are we doing here, guys? What's going on? Okay.
What's up?
So what is your podcast all about? Can you introduce me to your audience?
We're State of Things. What's up? That wasn't a good pitch, was it?
Yeah,
I don't think we ever wrote a pitch.
We don't.
We don't really have one.
I kind of like what you said. You had said something when we did that Zoom call. I feel like that's where it was, or maybe it was in the writing you did, the pre-cast writing thing. This is State of Things is basically a conversation that Alex and our friendship it orbits, and we've been having this conversation for 15 years about the state of things, why we are the way we are, what we are, and what's causing all of that. And I'm glad that we kind of switched things as far as like how tonight's going to go, because it was supposed to be the folks from out of town first. But I feel like ours is more of a zoom out than theirs is more in the nitty gritty of like this is how the power structures work, and we're just like, oh, the power structures suck.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm so mad.
How are you
A
dealing
lot
with
of
it
angst.
personally? Like, yeah.
Can you tell me what your feelings are?
Yeah,
right now
and
about
so
that?
like a lot of it's about like our kind of logo, or not logo, what is it called? Slogan. Our slogan, circle the void.
The
The
logo.
logo also
too.
shows
Incorporates
The-
this.
yes, it's also
symbolize
circling the
the
void.
same.
Yeah.
We don't have we didn't get a scrim for tonight, unfortunately, but next live podcast. A scrim?
Alex loves spending money, so he's gonna buy us a screen.
Giant
Yeah.
backdrop
Yeah.
for the whole thing, and then we can circle the void.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was thinking about buying new chairs. I'm glad there were chairs here, but I was thinking about buying new
Always
chairs.
talking about
Guys, we had so many cool ideas. We're gonna bring up our own canopy and have lights and have our little couch too, but we decided to not do anything
Because
complicated.
the couch
so
is a more collective space.
that's right. Yeah, they had a whole argument.
Is that
about
what
this,
we're?
actually.
Is that where we landed on that one?
Isn't it?
Are you
Isn't that-
conceding?
Yeah, absolutely.
conceded? Okay,
No, it's
cool.
it's a better
That's great.
collective space. I think.
Oh,
Well,
it's
man,
fantastic.
Yeah.
It's community.
It's inbuilt.
I
into
don't know why
the
you
product.
hate. I don't know why you hated community so much. to
Yeah,
begin
this
with.
whole time I've kind of been trying to do the opposite of community by having my own chair.
You're like
I
the
didn't want
U.S.
to be on the couch
government,
with
dude. Like everybody gets your own house. Everybody gets your own chair. God, we
I
got
would have
one
just
big
laid.
chair.
I would have just laid down on that couch, and you guys would have to sit there and be like my psychoanalyst.
Would you lay? Would
That's
we
an
sit on
idea.
the couch and you lay on top of it, like legs up on one of us and head resting up on the
I'll
other?
put my head
Oh,
on
just
someone's
imagine me
lap, yeah.
petting his hair while
Yeah.
we're talking about the
I'll just
state of
tickle his
things.
toes.
It's awesome. That's a really good idea.
This is pretty much what
This
your
would've
podcast is
actually
like.
been
I've been
better.
watching it a lot, actually.
Yeah, it's a
on
lot of
Instagram,
this.
which is the only
It's a lot
place
of
you
this.
can watch.
Yeah,
their
it's,
whole
we
bunch
really
of-
just broke it into morsels.
the only
'cause-
podcast you can only watch on Instagram. is
It's
these
actually
guys.
a postcast.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you guys.
Yeah.
Look, I wrote a note. It's my only note for you guys. What is a post?
What is a
Cast.
postcast?
Yeah.
Man, well, it's fragments of a conversation, right?
Okay.
So we have a long form conversation that's been going on for 15 years. Sometimes we film parts of that, and then we take snippets of that, a little fragment,
Oh, okay, yeah.
and then we put it onto the internet, and then
So
it's just it's fragmented. It's
So it should be fragmented cast. Just doesn't
No, no.
sound.
Well,
Postcast.
so it's kind of a play on words too, because I especially our first episode, we don't really have episodes at this point, but I was adamantly against podcasts because everybody's got a podcast. And then,
Everyone
and
has
then-
that. We'll
and
just call
then
it postcast.
In the same episode, Alex was talking about how we started as anti-capitalist, but he doesn't like the anti, so we're like, so we're post-capitalist, and this is a
Yeah.
postcast. So yeah.
Yeah.
Post-
I really didn't want to
Capitalist.
explain that. but-
No, that's actually what I want to zoom in on
and
with
it,
you
and
guys.
it kind of
yeah.
feels like too. I mean, like us talking about being post-capitalist versus anti-capitalist. It feels like you pull from a lot of different avenues. Whereas when you're a part of the anti-club, you just have to kind of rely on cliches that get you there, that pre-built thought.
Right.
To be a part of your movement, be a part of your in-group or what have you. Post things generally seem to avoid that structure,
Right.
the pre-structure, right?
Right.
So,
Well, it's not avoiding. I think to be properly post, you gotta have been in it, and now you're kind of like on the other side of it. So you have a person who's like post metal. It's like, well, they were into metal.
Yeah, that's a good point.
If you're
They
into
started in it.
country, you're not post metal. If you were just never into metal, right? So
Yeah.
you have to have gone through it.
It's like a.
So you had to be
earned it.
anti-capitalist to properly be post-capitalist. Because if you're all, I'm post-capitalist, someone else, oh, I'm just a capitalist, but you're not anti-capitalist. Well, cool, we can be friends. And you're like, well,
no. Well, I think we started
productively.
capitalist as well, too. I think there were points that we were pretty capitalist.
I think even when we
didn't-
were self-proclaimed anti-capitalist, we found ourselves in very
Embedded,
much partaking
entrenched in
and
capitalism.
reaching for
I remember
capitalism.
when we first started getting into not anti-capitalist, but just getting into like critical thought in philosophy at NIC all those years ago.
Right.
And we were in Seattle on tour one time, and we were at a like a vegan venue, metal venue or something like that, and they were handing out anti-capitalist pamphlets, and we were like, in your business establishment,
right.
huh?
Yeah.
Fascinating.
We
No, I
thought we were
remember-
better than everybody because they
So
were
we
doing
were
it that way.
capitalists.
Yeah.
In one sense, at least.
Yeah.
And then we were anti-capitalists, and now we're post all of that.
yeah. Well, and you're also post-anti-civ.
Yes. We went at least for
Oh,
me.
yeah,
Anarcho-primitivist.
Long
Yeah.
primitivist,
No longer.
anti-civilization sort of bent. I know. Yeah. For me personally, and I still have that. I still definitely carry some of that. I look back to evolutionary psychology, or like, well, what did hunter-gatherers do more often than, because like that's how
Lindy
we
test.
spent hundreds of thousands of years on this planet. So probably there's something to be taken from that at very least. That's has a good essence of like how humans deal with being on the planet.
Do you like the Lindy test?
Who?
The Lindy test.
I don't know the Lindy test.
The Lindy test. Okay. Anybody know what the Lindy test is? Okay. Matthew knows.
I don't know what it is,
Matthew
so please
would
tell
probably
me.
do a better job talking about it than me. Where's the audience microphone? We're supposed to have maybe that fifth mic just kind of.
You can just
talked
we got a
about that.
chair right there.
Yeah.
You can just come up and
No, keep him
All
off.
right.
Structured.
Structured.
No, but so basically, correct me if I'm wrong, but basically, he's just a guy who went viral and kind of has just made a brand out of saying this is Lindy, that's not Lindy. I don't know if it's his name, is it? But he's basically just saying like, if that's not Lindy, it just means that it wasn't a thing for like the overwhelming majority of human evolution. And so it's like cereal's not very Lindy, it doesn't pass the Lindy test. Like most of the stuff on the processed food aisles, not going to pass the Lindy test. And then we could do that with all kinds of things. I think those people would probably say monogamy doesn't pass the Lindy test, but then they'd also probably say that like nothing we do, nothing any of you guys do. So that's the sort of anti-civ like
the Lindy test
meme.
in that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good enough, Matthew?
Anything you'd like to add, Matthew?
Matthew seems not mad, but not contented.
All right, it's
That smirk is condescending for sure.
It's not my corner of the internet, guys. I don't live over there. I just hear
is
them talking.
butchering this.
All right.
The Lindy test.
You used to be anti-civ.
I used to be
We both were.
anti-civilization.
We all
We
read
both-
Ishmael.
Yeah, I still
I
love
yeah.
Ishmael so much.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite books. But
It radicalizes you, man.
yeah, well, yeah.
We
It's
were
got
all ready to
some really
start
good
sending
points.
pipe bombs to bureaucrats, I think, for a little while there.
Lower your voice.
I said word.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's past tense.
all
Oh,
live
we're
in the middle of the
we're
woods.
post terrorists too.
we don't do these things.
We
Yeah.
talk about them.
We
and,
did.
like around them.
Yeah. We're post-terrorism too.
Man. Does that
What do you
pass
do
the
now?
Lindy test or?
Terrorism?
Yeah,
No,
that's an
post-
interesting question. I want to know the answer to that. Does terrorism pass the Lindy test?
I don't think so.
Unabomber
Oh.
just wanted things to be more Lindy,
Because what?
I think. Ted Kaczynski.
Yeah, that was his whole thing. He
Yeah.
was very anti-civilization, right? He was very.
God, I
He
want
said-
someone to take
he
this
said,
out of context.
Technology is
so
not
bad.
very
Oh
Lindy.
yeah. I think we actually
Oh yeah. Yep.
should do that ourselves.
You want to get a
We
little
should
meta
make
about this?
Yeah, we should make this out of context on our own.
We're gonna make Dave look like a
Since this is a
domestic
post
terrorist.
after all.
Okay, so
We gotta harness the fracture.
all right, there
Right?
we go. Yeah. So
Circling the void.
Oh, now we're back.
we've got lots of good fractures.
Now we're back. Contradiction in everything.
Capital.
You know what?
Capital.
Capital.
I wanted to bring it back to the real thing.
Oh yeah. With this started, we were like, we're gonna put ourselves on the internet to make a spectacle of ourselves, to denaturalize our relationship in the media sphere that is so prominent today, and try to build networks and coalitions and connect with people, and also harness some influence, revenue streams. Like there is a contradiction in that. There is a capitalist we're taking part in the machine that we're like constantly actively criticizing.
Yeah.
And that's definitely part of being a post-cast. It just feels like it belongs there. But that's also part of circling the void.
Yeah, then that's the circling of the void accounts for all of that contradiction for us, and it helps explain it away. It's like, yeah, then we got to do something. Like,
What else are you gonna do?
yeah, circle the void.
And
Like you can't have pamphlets in your anarchy business. Like, circle the void.
that's
Yeah,
like-
yeah,
that's
shut up,
fine.
circle the void.
That's like
fine.
that punk
Human
band that's
beings
trying to
doing
s-
human being things.
trying to sell something as a band. That's capital. You know,
Yeah,
you get that. You
Or an
get that from
anti-capitalist
people.
band.
Yeah, dude, we used to have fans of ours light flags on fire, and then we'd sell them T-shirts back at the freaking merch booth.
That was
I
wild.
don't know that selling a band to you necessarily locks you into the circuit of capital in the sense of like like MCM prime, and like
Is
the
there like a-
actual
Yeah.
logic. I don't know.
Is there like a
I
Lindy
think-
test equivalent to like that?
Can't keep going back to that.
The chaffee
this
test
is the whole
or
night.
something. That's
The
what it is.
chaffing-
The
oh,
chaffing,
great.
the chaffing test.
Oh.
Does it pass?
What is that?
Chaffing.
What
Is
does
it-
that entail?
How
What
much
do
do you
you-
have to sell before you're a
Capitalist.
bad kind of capitalist?
Oh, okay,
Obviously.
okay.
As a band,
Yeah, like-
specifically.
okay, there's like a cap.
We are off
I think
the
now,
rails.
I think now you're just capping people's income.
What's an
at that
example
point,
of a
right?
truly capitalist band who does like regular touring? You know, like not like stadium touring, but just like regular touring, normal.
I don't know any. Like personally, I don't know.
Like, or
Like,
they,
I could-
like
I could-
people who like I don't know, like they make their band like their hoodies like $70, but it costs like $5 to make it like in Venezuela, and then they, you know what I mean?
Do you
It's
think
not-
that's
it's not
the more
that- Would that count?
disingenuous part?
It's not that simple though, because like bands have like merchandising deals that they sign when they're 18, and then they have to to push this crap.
and venues
I don't mind if
venues
it's
now are
$70
taking
if it's a nice hoodie.
the venues now are taking like 20% of
that's a
after
big
like the
problem.
tour package already pays the venue
Yeah,
to be there, to play there.
which we
And then-
like.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't say every venue does that.
Yeah, do
not
you
every
have to-
venue takes 20% of merch. Is bigger. It's the larger venues, the arguably more capitalist ones.
Okay, so anti-capitalist was a thing, and for reasons, I imagine, and then now it's post-capitalist, also for reasons. I don't know. So, what do you want to say about that?
What a question. Larry King over here.
You turn it back on me. I'm not.
You want to talk about
anti-capitalist
the
anymore.
reasons for both?
Yeah.
You want to hear that story?
I don't know if it's so
long
easy to
winded.
just like say.
Would you agree that just like as a teenager, you just don't like the fixation on business, and what are you going to do with your life if you're
I
not
mean,
becoming a businessman?
Essentially,
Like that's
and that's what attracted me personally
Yeah.
to like punk rock, and I'm gonna start a band, and that's how I'm gonna stick it. I'm gonna just do it hard enough and then change the world. I don't know what you think when you're a teenager. I don't remember. So
There's
but like,
alcohol in
and then like when that kind of stuff fades away, that you wake up from that dream and you're like, well, I was on to something. Like this is fucking broken. Like the way that we're doing things, and I don't know. That's just been a through line. You're gonna hear us say through line a lot. But
through line is circle the void through line.
yeah.
Because there's a through line.
there's a
through
through line
the
through the void.
Yeah.
Oh no,
so-
but it's around the void.
no. You're circling the void that has a through line through it.
Is the void
You
like
should
a
look at
long
the logo
tunnel,
next
and you're
time.
circling it along the way?
Maybe do your homework and look at logos before you just
Put my
invite people
logo
on
on
the
the flyer
stages.
next
Make them
time,
feel
dude.
weird.
Jeez.
Now I gotta feel weird, huh?
I just don't know if I'm looking at it from in front or from the side.
Whoa. Dude, you are really good at
It could be
wiggling
like
out of things.
through line.
That wasn't true at all, but somebody probably believed it.
There's a through line to what you just said.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
I started out as an we've talked about this about about coming onto anarchism, right?
Yeah.
Through either before our anti-civilization bent or after or as a product of, I don't remember exactly, but to me, for me, anarchy has always been resisting domination, resisting structural domination, structural hierarchy. And the way I've come to understand our history is that you can't have structural domination without wealth. Every single state that ever endured through all history has been backed by wealth. So, to me, capitalism being a system that is predicated on maximizing growth, profit, wealth, accumulation, it's probably a greater influence on structural domination and how that interplays in our lives than is, government and the state, who, to me, they just live together now. Like there's a very symbiotic relationship between the two now.
Between government and the state.
No, between capital and the state.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so my anti-capitalism came out of that. Came out of like rejecting anti-capitalism notion when I went to, a business that had an anti-capitalist pamphlet. And then I was like, oh, that's stupid. You're a capitalist, so you can't do that. And so I couldn't see the forest for the trees or what have you. But ultimately it was like, okay, I'm an anarchist. I don't want anybody telling me what to do. I want freedom. I don't want these power structures that are dominating. And then it was like, well, that's because they want wealth. That's because they want to accumulate more. So that's kind of my story on anti-capitalism. And then finding that, especially, one of the things I really was interested in talking about was you talking about inherent transgression in the music scene and growing up in a hardcore scene, because this is a very interesting space for us to be right now. Like, we've never been on this stage in this respect ever. And to be here now, like, this is first of all wild, but that's where we come from, all of us. Like, why this is so kind of symbolic and significant to us personally is because of growing up in the music scene and playing shows and hitting people in
gathering
the pit,
here, thinking that we were resisting in a certain way,
doing something like that. Where when you're young and you're youthful and you're sprightly, you have a lot of energy. You take part in the in the display of rebellion and what feels like rebellion energetically. That's already accounted for. You're not actually revolutionizing a system at all necessarily through acting in that way. Acting aggressively, and so coming upon that realization of like, oh, my anti-capitalism, my like resistance of the system is in fact just a display of that gets swallowed up and metabolized by that very system. So it took a long time to like realize that there could be something beyond falling in love with Bernie in 2016 and feeling like there was genuine change that could have happened. There was a genuine antithetical movement to the established order. It felt like there was actually something real. That got swallowed up. And the political scene turned very, it kind of just started to replicate. And similarly, in the hardcore scene, as I'm sure we've experienced, but in the political scene as well, it just started to replicate the very same power structures that we thought that we were resisting by policing other people, by canceling other people, by coming into a space that could have been a space of belonging, because that's ultimately what this was a prefigurative political space of like, this is what we want this to look like and feel like, and we're making it in real time. And so the political space got swallowed up instead by the very same logic that it was trying to resist, by isolating people, by casting people out, by saying you don't belong anymore, when in fact the whole point was the most significant aspect of that was in the belonging that was attempted to be made in those spaces. And so now post-capitalist.
Yeah, these spaces were the most radically inclusive before people started using that word.
Yeah.
Then they started trying to put a name on it and put a bunch of words to it.
All of a sudden, it adopted a language, and that language started to deny people.
Yeah. Yep. We even had our hand in denying people or trying to undermine people's talent or movements or whatever. Just, we had our hand in our exclusivity.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
Our exclusivity, a sense of elitism.
I remember people used to call us elitists, and I would love it. I'd be like, what else would you want to be?
You mean we have standards?
You mean I'm the best of you? I know. That's crazy. That's crazy.
That's a gorgeous way to say that.
I was really bad once. I was really sick.
We sucked.
This is like that post you made where you're talking about how cooking, guys make it so exclusive and competitive and elitist.
Treat it like it's some skill and
right. And then women in your life will tell you that they feel so like threatened by it, like, oh, it seems like so complicated, and you're like, what do you say? I don't know what you said in that post. You're saying something.
I was saying that. Well, I heard a woman say that men treat cooking as a skill and women treat it like it's just a chore. It's just something you have to do to take care of yourself. And then my experience with cooking in kitchens and stuff, it's like the dudes that would teach me or whatever, they'd lord things over you, or they'd they gatekeep it in a weird way, or like talk about it like you're never gonna be able to make eggs, like over easy eggs.
You think you can
Not
flip an
today, dude. We'll get you practicing some
You
some
can drop
scrambles
fries
over
in a
there.
fryer, buddy.
Yeah, and then I had to step up to it and do it, and I was like, oh, this isn't anything. Like this is just a thing. This is like learning how to write your name.
Dude, a lot of restaurants can't do over easy. That's not a joke. Like they really can't do that.
Well, a lot of people don't know the difference with like. I don't want to get into this, dude.
Why?
I'm gonna get upset, dude. Why? The general population in there for over medium, over easy. I want a medium rare. You don't know what you want. You don't know what any.
Not runny, but not hard. I want a gooey. What's that called?
Over medium.
Thank you. That's what I say, but then they can't do it. So.
Yeah, and then you send a perfect over medium out. And they're like, why is it runny? What did you think was gonna happen?
No, I send it back. No tip.
No,
Dude,
10%.
I'm joking. So
if you send eggs back, you can shampoo my crotch, dude. Get out of here.
So I think I came in the
Yeah, I've
comment
gotten
section.
plenty of
I was
snotty
like,
eggs, and I've never sent them back. I'm like,
Dude.
I guess that's the
you're-
void today.
that's what
That's
you're
how
eating.
you circle the void.
Yep, eating the snot.
Yeah.
Because I love the jammy yolk, right? The nice runny jam, and like, oh, it's so
Shouldn't
good.
have brought up
but
You like
like-
it runny? Oh my.
yeah, the yolk. You don't like runny yolk?
It's got to be gooey, but not runny. Like
This
you stick
yolk
your
doesn't
fork in
run.
it and it comes off on your fork still because it's like that gooey.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
but
You want
it's
like a
not
custard.
Like running
You're jammy.
Like blood. Yeah. No.
Jammy. It's anywhere between runny and jammy, but it's when the whites are undercooked. If you're
That's-
trying
no,
to make
dude,
my
no.
whites like you make my
No.
yolks,
Yeah.
I hate you. I hate
Yeah.
everything that you stand for. I'll still hug you, but I hate you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Scrambled eggs, get the fuck out.
That's. I didn't realize that.
Ricky's got me.
I was gonna say a joke. I won't.
All right.
Like a toddler joke. It's really corny.
Oh.
Just like.
That I'm a toddler. Because
What's
Yeah,
the
that's
joke?
it. That was it. That was
Oh,
the
no
joke.
scramble?
Yeah.
Let's get you some butter noodles.
Yeah, you like Parmesan?
Yeah.
No pepper, it's spicy on my scrambled eggs.
Ketchup on my mac and cheese. I'm done. Let's go. Let's move on.
Castration culture
Ooh.
and his take on cooking.
They go together.
I just want to hear your thoughts on that. That's all I wanted to say, and then I want to hear you talk.
Are you gonna talk more about castration culture tonight, or can you just give us a snapshot right now?
Or is it wrong of me to have brought that up?
Oh my God, guys,
Spoilers.
you can't out me like this.
This isn't it. This
So,
isn't it. This
so
isn't the
castration
space.
culture is actually the article that is on the merch table. It's like $4.
You can pick it up in the back.
That
All three of you.
that got published just like a week or two ago, but it's the culmination of like my lessons, right? So like my trajectory is not like anti-civ, anti-capitalist in the more anarchist vein. It was a lot more in the Marxist vein, and Marxists kill anarchists. So this is amazing that we all get to hang out, but. We knew each other before those days. I was never really a Marxist, so it's hard to say post-Marxist. But the thing is like when you've read Capital a few times, and you're so shaped by thinking of this much larger structural critique that way, you're a post-Marxist at that point. Yeah.
And I don't think you can't.
Come on, wait. Spit it out.
Getting into critique of capitalism without Marx's critique of capitalism, without the,
What are you gonna do? Just
economic
read
manuscripts
Bakunin?
of
Come on,
18, whenever that was.
Yeah.
You can't not like that is the doorway. That is the massive structure that kind of built everybody else's thought.
Right.
So.
And
You
even
don't have
if
to be a Marxist to need Marx.
Right, yeah, and even if people don't read it, like I think that people generally understand some like basic cliff notes that if anyone in the audience isn't aware of, I'll just kind of speed run by saying, well, capitalism is not just when people sell things. That's like a market. There's markets in all kinds of societies, but capitalism is something that arises specifically in England at a specific time in history, and it's Charles Dickens times, right? And it's because there was like a 200-year struggle by the emerging bourgeoisie and new class to try to kick peasants off of their traditional land and force them into cities, and it was called the closure of the commons. And so people lost their traditional right to being on land that they didn't own, but they were able to be there and work that land, and all of a sudden they lost their homes, and they're working in factories, and Oliver Twist is like, please, sir, can I have some more? And that's capitalism, right? And that's the very, but then you can zoom in a little bit more, because then Marx is like thinking really deeply about it. But what I don't like is Marxism as a political ideology that says that, social change is going to happen in this specific way. History and materialism, if you just read it, if you just understand, if you're just enlightened, then you know the way that it's going to go. And then it becomes like this big sort of class warfare thing. And I think class warfare makes a lot of sense in the time of Charles Dickens, and it's always a useful lens for thinking about a society. And I liked Bernie because I was like, yeah, dude, class war. But I didn't like all of the micro niche kind of class war copycat things that spiral off from it, because as soon as people start thinking in class war terms, then they start applying that to all of their relationships. Now men and women are distinct classes that are at war. Now like blacks and whites are distinct classes that are at war. And this is not invented in the last 10 years. It just came back in the last 10 years. W.E.B. Du Bois is one of the most important sociologists of all time, and he was writing about how black people are a class. And that was an argument, and it was something that people did not believe, but it was something that he was able to affect. People got on board with it over time. He said the color line is the real line for class warfare in the 20th century, and that's because he's looking at Jim Crow, right? And so you have class war with Marx, and I'm always like sympathetic. I get where you're coming from, but now we're here. Right? He thought the whole world was going to turn into two classes. He was like, well, there's like 6 or 7 classes right now, but these 2 new classes, the bourgeoisie, the business class, and the proletariat, the factory workers, those 2 classes will get bigger and bigger and bigger and eat up all the other classes until there's no more classes except for those 2, and then the one will be way bigger than the other, and they will just eventually overthrow the bourgeoisie. And then you hear people talk about this literally still today. And when I was a Bernie organizer, people talked about it then. And it didn't go away between the 2 campaigns, and it just became more and more of a thing. And I was like, yes, yes, yes. But then over time, I was like, this seems to be missing some things.
Exhausting. Yeah.
This is missing some things, and it's framing things wrong. And the 99% in particular is a way of framing things that excludes like the top 20% that also don't show up to knock on doors and make phone calls and actually do like the canvassing work, but they do take over the podcasts and become the spokespeople in Brooklyn and in Toronto. And those are the 2 places that hijacked the movement, like the epicenters of capture by a specific class. And the 20th century is the story of the development of that class. And I don't do class war with that class. That's the PMC. I don't do class war with the PMC. I'm fine with it. The PMC is just the people who go to college. Really, that's basically what it is. It's the professionals, it's the managers, and it's the functionaries, the bureaucrats, and the people who tell you, well, I did it all, I figured it out, you just have to listen to me. Oh, not that person. That person's a guru, charlatan, but I know. You just listen to me, because I actually am agreed with by all the experts. Just trust me. And you're supposed to go along with that, or you're an idiot. And that's more or less the thing that took over Bernie between 2016 and 2020, was the PMC capture of that movement. And it was the realization that the Marxists who were trying to infiltrate and hijack the movement and think that this is all going to lead to their Soviet Russia dream or whatever, like those people who were always around, those people were also unaware of this critique. Those people are just like, oh, the PMC, well, that's just the petty bourgeoisie. No, dude, these categories that you use are from Charles Dickens' land. It doesn't apply here. Petty bourgeoisie, it means small businessman. That's not what these people are. They're college educated. They've never had a business. They never had a job. Even if they had a job, they didn't have to have a job. Their parents just told them they had to have a job. It's not the same thing. Yeah.
And
But
that's probably the bigger problem then with Marx's whole theory on the 2 classes, the proletariat, the bourgeoisie.
That is the problem.
That people cosplaying that. Like that's the function that I hate more than anything is existing in that and trying to interface with that, because you can't. It's almost it feels impossible to organize with.
It does make organizing impossible, and there's like basically two reasons, and this connects so well between the two things that you tried to force me to make sense of, which is the chef versus cook sort of elitism.
Call it that. Yeah.
Women, they cook because they must, and men cook if they want to. And if they do, then they're going to do a really good job, and they're going to make it like an art. But it's an art because they're like obsessive dude bros. And so, that
wasn't so sexist when I
is what
said
you
that.
meant.
I had to take the veil off and let everyone know this is what we're talking about. Yeah. And the fact is that, so women are supposed to be able to do things like normal people, and that's not their reality. But at the same time, who gets left holding the bag of the house chores? Still, it's going to be women, right? And the idea that they're not going to have to do that anymore is something that came about at the beginning of the 20th century with the rise of progressive managerialism, two major forces that worked together to co-opt, preempt, and undermine working class organizing because they were afraid of seeing a resurgence of what they had seen in the 1870s and 1880s with the rise of the Farmers Alliance, which was millions of black sharecroppers who were former slaves. Now they're indentured servants, essentially, and they're completely screwed. And they're working with white miners and industrial proletarian type people in the cities. Millions strong. And they didn't like Democrats, they didn't like Republicans. They were doing something that was scaring the shit out of the two-party system. And so the two parties basically come up with two more or less different versions of this progressive managerialism. You have Teddy Roosevelt and you have Woodrow Wilson. And then they're the two first progressive presidents. And they're very different personality types. One is way more Democrat, one's way more Republican. Teddy Roosevelt, way more Republican. Woodrow Wilson is way more Democrat. In their disposition, they're dispositionally different, but they're basically the same thing. And they both talk about, like, we need to be pro-working class, guys. But the reason they're saying that is because they're like, well, there's socialists that are going to kill us if we're not careful. And Eugene Debs was like Bernie Sanders in the 1930s, right? But they're aware of him before he's running against them. And so they're seeing this rise and resurgence of this working class movement after the 1880s and all of that had been crushed. And it had been crushed by institutionalizing a bunch of racist laws. And those racist laws were meant to divide that movement from then, right? And so, like, the betrayal of Reconstruction after the Civil War, that's the whole story, was we need to undermine this kind of organizing. And W.E.B. Du Bois saying well, guys, actually it's not the working class, it's the color line. He's only one example of a whole bunch of people who went to Harvard, Yale, Princeton, et cetera, at that time, right? And so all of these guys are, I'd say probably the most important is Frederick Winslow Taylor, the Principles of Scientific Management. But also Edward Bernays, the nephew of Freud, the father of essentially propaganda. Like, he turned it into a science that he called public relations. But he wrote the book called Propaganda, where he develops this approach where he's like, hey, I can convince people that, for instance, like women who don't like to smoke, I did an ad campaign. Now women are smoking everywhere, right? Like, this is Bernays. And so guys like Bernays but especially Taylor, what they're all doing with their college degrees are writing books that are openly conspiring to crush the working class movement. So it's like they're not doing like some secret conspiracy theory thing. They're all just like, hey, capitalists, I know you're afraid, and also it's very expensive to have to pay these people to come in and beat up the striking workers. I have a solution. We'll replace the advanced workers, the ones who know how to do everything, with people with college degrees. Because people with college degrees will be properly scientific about capital and labor relations, which is to say, harmonious. They'll get along.
Synergy.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get out ahead of the organizing.
Mm-hmm.
And so this isn't something that just arose in 2016. It's something that the bones of the institutions that form the matrix that we all live in today were these progressive managerialist bones, because it was a successful thing. And you can read the entire history of the 20th century as the rise of the managerial revolution alongside the war of imperialism, and whether imperialism is going to have a capitalist or a socialist color. But it's really just a color, because in either case, the real thing that matters is people's time and energy and what a human life is actually for. And capitalists and socialists all agreed on one thing. They all agreed that the overwhelming majority of people should work almost all of their lives, and their job is not to do creative things and have fun. Their job is to work their job, keep their mouths shut. And the public education system that these guys started, the Woodrow Wilsons and the Taylors, and it's all bankrolled by the richest people in the world at the time, the Carnegies and the Rockefellers. I'm not saying it's like a conspiracy done by the Jews. The Jews were somewhere else. That's not them. The Carnegies and the Rockefellers are actually just like Americans. And they're just like, they're not Jews. And they're just like, they're just doing this.
Americans, right?
You always have to say this nowadays, because if you start talking about like the elite consciously did something, people are like, don't you mean the Jews? No. Carnegies and the Rockefellers were, okay, that would have been the previous century. The middle of the previous century was when that might have been true with not the Rockefeller, who was the richest people in the world the previous century, halfway through? The Rothschilds. Okay, but they're not the richest people by the time we're to the Carnegies and the Rockefellers. And we're talking about moguls. Like, these guys aren't like billionaires today. There's over 1,000 billionaires right now. So we're talking about a different situation. It was like there was only 2 billionaires, and it was these 2 guys. And then they really did not like these striking workers. Like, they participated in massacres of strikers. And then both of them, with their own institutions, not working together, are just funding the living shit out of all of these people who are putting forward plans and proposals to get out ahead of and undermine this kind of organizing. And they're literally looking at guys like Frederick Winslow Taylor and Bernays, and these guys are like, hey, we can do this. And they're like, can you do this? And they're all having a public conversation about it. They weren't being secretive. The whole thing about progressives in the early 20th century is that they were proud to talk about how inferior people should not be breeding. Inferior people, we need to get them to stop having kids. And we need to make sure that if they go to school, they don't get to study things like art, and they don't get to study things like philosophy, and they don't get to study things like that because we have way too many of those people already. We don't need that, right? That's the whole story. And so the world wars, I mean, that's where the imperialism is working itself out, and whether it's going to have capitalist or socialist characteristics, but the whole plan and the whole thing on all sides is this managerial revolution. And so, there's all kinds of people who write about this that are on the left, people who write about this who are on the right. There are people who write about this who are communists. Mao is essentially thinking about this. James Burnham, who's a neoconservative, is thinking about this. Barbara Ehrenreich, who was on the founding board of the Democratic Socialists of America in the late 1960s, early 70s, she's writing about this. She coins the term PMC. So whenever you say PMC, people say, oh, well, you're talking about Ehrenreich. Well, Ehrenreich thought this and so that. Or they go, oh, you're talking about the managerial revolution. You're talking about Burnham, so this, so that. And people have these little coined reactions they use to shut this down if they are PMC and they really don't like this discourse. But I'm like, guys, everybody who's anybody who is paying attention to the 20th century, if they were really in the Marxism, but then they weren't anymore, like Burnham, who was a Trotskyist, and then he left Marxism and became like what? He started working for the CIA, I think, because he was like, well, okay, we got to do something about the Soviets, because that's not socialism, that's just Russian imperialism, actually. Yeah, okay, makes sense. Yeah. I'm sympathetic to all parties.
Circle of the void.
Circle of the void. Yeah. All the people in the 20th century, I'm pretty sympathetic to most of you guys, all right? Like, I clarified most just now, and I realized some of the people.
Thank you.
There's a few.
There's a few in the 20th century I'm not allowed to be sympathetic of, but everybody else I'm super sympathetic of, because it's like, that's their struggle, it's not mine. Right, that's their struggle. That's not mine. They lived in a hard. They lived through the Depression. I didn't.
Yeah.
I sit here in the clear, fresh air of the pine forests of northern Idaho, and I have history and hindsight and some education at this point and these experiences, and then I'm like, nah, it ain't that. And then these people who are organizing today, who are trying to hijack every movement in America, who are like, no, we just need to turn it into Leninism 2.0. They're like, oh, you're counter-revolutionary revisionist, Dave. You're reactionary because you don't say exactly what I think. And it's like, well, maybe you guys are just like using like really old categories and you're not like thinking about things right. That could be true too. But the way it all relates to castration culture, to close that up, I'll say the really short version of this.
It's a big void, huh?
Big ass.
We're finally there, guys. We finally get to say it. Yeah, you get to read the piece. Make sure to buy one, but it's on Substack for free. But look, it's a book I'm working on right now. At some point, I realized I wanted to have a kid. I didn't think I wanted to have a kid for most of my life, and I wanted a vasectomy, right? And so then at the point that I realized, like, but I really love my friends' kids and my nieces and my nephews, but I just can't get enough of them, and I want to just hug them up and like take care of them and tell their parents, you don't know what you're doing, I'll just take this kid. At that point, I was like, okay, I should probably just get my own. And then I was like, oh man, I did not build my life for this at all. And I was like looking around, and I was like, okay, so a house is like 10 years out, if I can do anything with this degree that I was never planning on actually doing anything with. And then I was like, okay. I did figure out how to do something. I mean, we were doing it, but I wasn't going to become a professor, right? Yeah. I was like, I was a professor for a hot minute, for anyone who doesn't know, but I was like, it's not for me, for a lot of reasons. I don't have the disposition for these institutions. And so, kids, I wanted to have a kid, and then I was like, noticing things with Anne. It's my wife back there. I think she's
Hi, Ann.
Hi, Ann. And she's got a baby in her belly, and he's well on his way, and he's going to be here 3 weeks early, and it's kind of crazy. And so we're really excited about that. We were just meeting with the midwife today and the OBGYN and like doing all the stuff we have to do to prepare for this. And so it's really exciting because
Congratulations. I don't think I've said that on camera yet.
No, you have not. Thank you.
I can't wait to clip that.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be a good clip, guys.
That on camera, are you kidding me?
That's going to be
putting that on camera?
Clip it and ship it.
Sorry.
But I realized, okay, how did you say this, Ezra? You said, like, there's advantages and disadvantages to having your kids early versus late.
Yeah.
And I just was thinking about the disadvantages and feeling kind of stupid. But there's advantages. And
to late or
yeah, to doing it late
both,
like
really.
me, to doing it late.
Yeah, you're probably more established and you know who you are, and you're going to be able to more quickly and efficiently pass on the wisdom that you've obtained.
Right.
And I had to figure, like, I had my son young, and I had to do a lot of that on the fly. Materially, I was not set up. Mentally, I wasn't set up. But by the time he's 18, I'll be like 42. So, like, I'll throw baseballs with his kids if he like,
dude.
Like there's give and take.
Yeah, and I'll be throwing baseballs with my kid when I'm like 80, and then he'll have a grandkid for me on my deathbed. I'll be like, "Nice to meet you, buddy." Yeah.
Listen, I'm gonna head out, man.
So much for intergenerationality. But he'll be like, "It's okay, Dad. You were like pretty mature, low energy, but pretty mature for your age, I guess." So, okay, the castration culture thing is the stuff that we started noticing. We already had a problem with therapy speak and performative wokeness and symbolic capitalism and all the bullshit that we were seeing with PMC leftism. And I was a big part of it. And because I got caught up in it. And just seeing all that stuff and experiencing it and learning critiques of it and essentially leaving the left and leaving academia and leaving the attention economy, because I had also been an influencer during the burning time, leaving all of those things and deciding I would rather work at an Amazon warehouse for a couple of years just to get some critical distance and take a breather and not be reliant on my income coming from these fields that are so censored and restrictive to where you just can't say anything anymore. It's like...
Yeah. It's really hard to notice that too until you're kind of
in it,
deconstructing from it almost. I don't know, because that's something.
You don't realize how much policing
until you start sucking on like maybe I've been propagandized too. You know what I mean? Like because like personally, I've spent a lot of time like flabbergasted at conservatism, and I still am in a lot of ways. But understanding that they were just propagandized to in the ways that maybe I was, and different, different sides of it, and then like I don't know, all of a sudden grace starts to spread out for everybody, myself and people I don't agree with ideology. Yeah, grace for bad opinions or bad actions informed by incomplete or unanalyzed opinions. It's I don't know. To your point, Lo, it's easy, or it's hard to see until you're out of it, and you're like, and then you look back and you're like, whoa, I was really getting policed by like these
policing others.
Yeah. Through liberalism, it's supposed to be all liberating and progressive, and then all of a sudden you're getting policed about what you're saying. You're getting policed about how you live your life, and it's like this is.
And there's no grace, and there's no forgiveness, and there's no belonging to come back to then because of that.
Oh,
you
yeah.
get stripped of that.
Oh, yeah. I hate to even use it because I could be taken out of context, but like the whole cancel culture thing, we've talked about that before. Like, I understand that there's things that you do, and you got to get these people out of it's not safe for people, right? But like, we don't ever talk about roads back. We don't ever talk about embrace. We don't ever talk about what you need to do. To like you messed up because you're propagandized to, or you're dealing with the state of this. Like, we all have a lot of mental pressures coming in at us from everything. I don't have to get into it, but like, you mess up, you hurt somebody, you hurt multiple people, and then your group gets you out, and then what are you supposed to do? But
who catches you?
Nobody. And so what do? You just keep acting like shit, and then you keep getting lost.
Or you find communities that are going to welcome you that actually have that built into the structure, which is why you see somebody like Russell Brand. All of a sudden, people are calling him a grifter because he's now
a Christian,
deep into the Christian church.
And or Shia LaBeouf. Yeah.
Or Shia LaBeouf, yeah. I mean, see that? And it's like,
or
whether
me.
that's good or bad, it's not really a good or bad judgmental thing. It's mostly just like there's a structure for that.
Right.
You're allowed to mess up and be welcomed back. There's a road that offers that.
Well, it's like my friend Nina is someone who got super canceled several times, and just like for 10 years being dragged and harassed, and there's these people that just are absolutely vile to her. And sometimes she overreacted and said some spiteful things on the internet, and then people are like, "See how bad you are," and then like they'll like get in your comment sections and they'll email everybody that you know and all this, and it's just like. It's like, oh my God. And so, she becomes a Christian. She's a part of the Anglican church, and because she lives in London. I've visited her there a couple of times, And we had her on for a podcast, Ann and I, for one of our podcast things. We were like talking to her about it. I was like, with this Russell Brand thing, it's like people are saying, oh, how convenient. You're a Christian because you're getting canceled because you're a piece of shit. And her reaction was basically like exactly what I'd thought too, which is like, yeah, duh. That's what Christianity's really good at. It actually is like the only institutionalized way of like having like a path forward. Yeah. When
that's all there's left.
When you feel bad.
I didn't even think about it.
And the thing is actually, as far as castration culture is concerned, Russell Brand's he's a walking prototype of like how you're supposed to be as a specimen or like a survivor of the 1990s liberal Rumspringa, which is a really big part of the castration culture thesis, is liberal Rumspringa. And it's basically just the idea of like, the Amish have this thing where it's like, oh, okay, well, you're being raised with no technology, and it's all like the word of God and milking cows or whatever. And at some point, they're like, all right, well, you're like 16 now. You can go party on the back 100 acres or whatever and have ragers with people from the city, and you guys can fuck in the car or like, whatever. Just have tents back there, snort some cocaine or, bang some meth. It doesn't matter. Do whatever you want, kids, because it's from springtime. It's like a ritual of release. And the idea is that it gives them their ability to have free will, to experience the world, to go in the city, to use technology, to get a smartphone, to get a job. And they might do it for a few years, and then at some point, they might decide to return. And there's a ceremony of return for Amish people. There's not a ceremony of return for people doing what I call the liberal Rumspringa. And liberal just means free, freedom-loving. It means open-minded. It also means free markets. right? It also means capitalism. It means free markets. But it also just means people are freed from land where they weren't allowed to travel away from because they were serfs. And they were, in serfdom to a feudal lord. But it also means freedom for slaves. And now you're not bounded to the land either. Nobody's bounded to anything. Everybody's free for everything. In fact, also, sexuality is free. Everything's free. Everything's so free, you just can't do certain things. And so it's always like this, hey, everybody's free, but also like you're not though. Okay, so it's like you're really free to do whatever you want. You just gotta use condoms, and also you have to like probably be on like the pill, and you probably also want like the IUD, and you probably also want to swallow loads. It's like that'll be normal.
I didn't know we were going there. I didn't know we were doing
1990s, dude.
I didn't know we were doing
1990s, dude. It was normal. It was very normal. It was just like
I don't know. I was 9.
it's still normal in porn, but the thing is castration culture is like, oh, we're super pro-sex. It just can't lead to life. It can't lead to life. It just can't. And if you try that before you're absolutely certain that you did the liberal Rumspringa for at least 10 years, then you don't actually know what you're signing up for. So this is part of the discourse now. People are like, well, the people aren't even developed in their brains until they're 25, which is junk science. But it's, for sure, if that's how it feels. I don't think mine finished developing until probably 35. So there. So, we should probably just say you can't make major decisions till 35. Okay, if you're a guy. 25 if you're a girl. Oh, let's maybe say that.
I'm actually
guys are a bit
surprisingly
slower.
comfortable with that.
You're fine with that? Okay.
Yeah. As a guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just saying, but also this culture of permissiveness and of on the left, free libidinal economies, and on the right, free literal economies. What you get is like the shock troops of capital left and right. On the one side, it's just fuck everything and do anything that hits you because like, hey, you're in college or you're in the music scene or but whatever, man, it's your time to be free. But then that never really actually ends, and there's not actually a ceremony of return. And the whole thing is, it's not circling like the void, like, oh, like there's natality and the possibility of intergenerational belonging and actual community, and we're actually going to have roots and culture. No, it's circling the lack of that and foreclosing the possibility of ever having that, unless you're a weirdo. Unless you're the weirdo who gets married between the ages of 19 and 23, who, by the way, you probably get divorced by the time you're 35 and start talking about how I need to go do eat, pray, love, and like experience things because I got married too early. Or if you're like me and you're like, no, not happening, no, no way, not getting bound down. We used to call them stage 5 clingers.
I call them breeders.
Yeah. Well, okay, a lot of stage 5 clingers aren't trying to have babies, but like, but it's like, oh man, we just met. We only had sex 3 times. She wants to date me? What is this? That was all pre-Me Too. Yeah. Post-Me Too, we all got like really good at being like, oh, let's have conversations about what we're trying to do here.
Just listen to her, man.
We were really bad, guys. We need to do a way better job. And then like the soy spectrum, it's very wide, and I went very far on it.
You did.
And yeah, I did.
Yeah, you did.
The soy? Did you just
The
call
soy
it
spectrum.
It's funny.
Yeah.
You knew exactly what he's talking about there too, huh? I never heard it before either.
Wow.
I was already locked. I was like, oh yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did do that.
That's uncomfortable for somebody somewhere. I bet that you call it that.
Yeah, estrogen.
You're gonna
That's
get
the
canceled.
joke.
You're not gonna have a way back.
It's a perfect place. The worst thing that would happen if I got canceled is more people would show up to these things.
Honestly, you do
wouldn't
better.
be that
you would
bad.
Theory Underground would do better if you
The
got canceled.
pit would be way better because there'd be like people trying to get up here and stop
fight.
us.
Yeah.
And we'd have to have Thad probably stand there and be like, no, you can't do that.
Daddy-is now.
You think?
Goes by
Thaddeus, I knew that.
Oh,
Does he not like
didn't
that
feel like it.
anymore?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Does he not like that anymore?
No, he's not. No.
Where have you been for
Why are
12
Why are you talking
years?
to me like I knew that the whole
I'm
time?
sorry, man. I
should have
thought I
known
told
that.
you.
He's never said anything to me about it.
Really? You called him Dad, and he was like, "Thanks."
He answered.
Man, years ago, I was like, "Dad, what's up, man?" He's like, "Hey, man, I don't like going by Dad anymore. It's Daddy-is." And I'm like,
"You dead name."
I didn't know that actually. You wanna? Yeah,
Dead
I don't pay
name.
attention to stuff like that.
Dang.
I haven't talked to you in 8.5 years you've been drunk the whole time.
Dude, that's exactly how it feels. It's like I come back and I'm just like, everyone's got new
that.
names, everyone's got new genders, everybody's like got like, and I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. I mean, I've done that too, but
Yeah,
a lot's
went somewhere
changed.
else and did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They used to call me David.
Dave.
Oh, Dave.
Dave.
Call him
They called me
When
Dave.
Dave was a they them.
They've them.
Yeah.
Dave them.
Yeah.
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 And I think that's a big part of being the shock troops of symbolic capital as part of the rebel priest class in the liberal Rumspringa of castration culture.
What? You run that back.
He said-
Yeah, say that one more time.
You gotta read the Substack to know what.
Yeah,
he
you guys
just
gotta
said.
read the book.
If you want to have a clue,
I'm
what that
selling it
meant.
for $4. I explain
He
everything.
takes Venmo.
Yeah,
Oh.
Or at least I'll take it for him.
yeah, we take Venmo, you know.
Yeah.
So
I knew it.
as far as the connection
Capitalist.
between the elitism in the kitchen and castration culture, though, the idea is that women had like this opportunity to actually do something with their lives that wasn't just being like chained to a stove. But what they lost along the way of being sold the idea that working for capitalists is actually freedom, which, I mean, to some extent, obviously it is. Like, the definition of liberal is freedom. And so it's like, that's good, actually. But also, like, there were things lost along the way, like, for instance, traditional forms of knowledge. And so those same guys, the Carnegies, the Rockefellers, and the whole managerial progressive class at the beginning of the 20th century, at the same time that they were displacing advanced workers with people with college degrees, they did this to midwives. They banned midwives. And they told women, no, you can't do home births. And they erected industries to capture what had traditionally been women's work, not just in the West, but also in the East and also in South Africa and literally everywhere in the fucking world. Because the idea is like, there is hand-me-down knowledge that you get, not just from your grandma or great-grandma, but literally like from deep interconnected webs of belonging that we can't possibly imagine because we've never, ever even like tasted that. Well, maybe we tasted it here. But outside of like a sniff, a whiff, a taste, the fact is Western modernity doesn't experience this embeddedness. It doesn't experience that embeddedness. And that embeddedness isn't always like the stuff that you can learn in a textbook. A lot of it's the stuff that is shared just in embodied being around each other. And so, for instance, no women in the history of the world until this hyper-medicalization that was bankrolled by the Carnegies and the Rockefellers, never, ever, ever were women told, you lay on your back and you spread your legs and you push. That is bullshit. That's not real. That's bunk science. And it was because it's convenient for the doctor. It's convenient for the doctor who's doing this all day, every day. But in reality, the woman knows how to like move around in childbirth. And so this is like something that was like taken from people. And now this thing that's supposed to be this beautiful experience is turned into this clinical emergency experience where it's like we assume it's going to be the worst thing ever. Anne couldn't get insurance because they were like, oh, well, you have an existing condition. Yeah, it's called a baby. You call that a disease, essentially, when you say it's an existing condition.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're not able to get insurance now. Fantastic.
Awesome.
Castration culture is the PMC-ification of not just libidinal economy through the shock troops of capital on the left, whereas on the right it's in actual capitalist markets. It's also the robbery of traditional forms of knowledge from advanced workers in the factories, and then the deeper traditional forms of knowledge from women communities. You can't. It's not even a term. Nobody even uses that anymore. But it's like, yeah, women. They used to have their own communities.
Yeah, you said
they don't get to anymore.
When we were on the Zoom call the other day, you'd made a point about that basically, much more concisely. But you had said that it's not.
Much more concisely.
We're not. The women aren't. Or in terms of child rearing, we're not missing the method. We're missing the support network. And
right.
Yeah. And then I think Matthew went on to make. I don't want to step on anybody's toes for what they're gonna do, but like he made a really good point about how the systems, the structures of power, they take these things away and replace it with something else, and then it goes away forever. And yeah, I've been circling that void, dude. That's.
And that's the whole project. It seems like and it's hard to not look at it and feel conspiratorial about it. But that's the whole project, because I've found myself more and more in the last few years, just like the liberal Rumspringa in excess, and really just like the culture trying to sell you a certain identity, that you can be this, that you can do big things with your life, that you can. It's trying to capture this spirit of humanity that otherwise has a deficit relation with elsewhere, a deficit in the relation elsewhere. It's like
What do you mean?
you're not embedded in. You talking about it taking away embeddedness.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
so,
yeah.
like, there is no embedded. Like the cultures are so fragmented. People from one another are so isolated.
Right.
They're so atomized. They're so turned against the very notion of what being a human being could mean, what it could offer, and like the deeply entrenched roots, the lineage, the long-term story that we're a part of. It's you don't get to connect with that anymore because of the lack of those traditional forms of knowledge.
Right.
That once they're replaced, they go away. So
Right.
we're in this like suspended animation of like, okay, but what is human meaning, and where can we reclaim that? Where does it come from? The market is trying to sell us what human meaning actually is, and taking from our capacity to relate to one another in a communitarian sense, and selling us a more isolated, insular sense of being a human being. And watching that happen in real time with fucking smartphone technology over the last 10, 15 years, and how critical I've become of that. And like, I'm captured by it too, for sure. Like, it's a very hard thing to get out of.
Scientifically pointed at you
No,
to
it's meant
capture
to.
to colonize your
the
attention.
intent is there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the capacity to, and the rise of mental illness that like that instead of criticizing the likely inputs of, oh, you're staring at a fucking blinking rectangle that vibrates and it makes sound and noises, and you learn to recognize patterns within this thing, and you isolate from your world around you, and you're disembodied. You don't learn to feel your body. There's no felt sense in the body. Like, probably similarly to midwifery being eliminated, and women being able to, like, it's all what is the fucking thing, the epidural.
Yeah.
That or not being able to like live in your body and have a felt sense of your
Which
body.
is life-saving,
and
by the way. You know, it's life-saving for 15% of the population. It's just like, why is 30% of the population using it, right?
Yeah.
It's life-saving, but also it does lead to a ton of complications, right? It leads to a ton of complications.
I'm sure there's benefit to it, absolutely, but it's being applied. It's a large swath that's being
Right.
brushed over everybody. So that disconnect that comes from that is just we're gonna end up in a point where we don't know. It feels like we don't know how to fucking find human meaning anymore. How to relate to one another. How to build something that has an arc, that has longevity, that is rooted in traditional knowledge systems that like we can connect to. We can think about our people that we came from generations ago, that like this project is enduring, and we just are completely fucking separated from all of that, from everybody else, and that seems to be the point.
Yeah, and so then I'm super for a sort of a non-binary future where it's like people aren't restricted to old, outdated ideas of what you're supposed to do, but those traditional forms of knowledge that men and women used to have, now they don't have it. We've got males and females without traditional men or women like knowledge. Like they just don't. So it's like, yeah, guys can't change the oil on cars, and women don't know how to like cook mac and cheese, and it's like, okay, and then it's like, well, that's any college student at Boise State is going to be pretty much in that. It doesn't matter if you're a guy or a girl. It's like they don't know how to do either. So no one knows how to do either. So it's like wouldn't a sort of non-binary future look like everyone knows how to change oil and make the mac and cheese? And also, wouldn't we have more traditional dishes than that? Like, can't we actually make really good food?
Yeah.
But no. And so that's the connection, is that all forms of cultural knowledge became specialist forms of knowledge that got monopolized, and you have to have a degree in order to do that. And I don't want to say any more about it. I think we probably need to wrap this up.
Yeah,
but
We're probably about there.
we'll say more about time, energy, and radical responsibility, and grace, and who knows what else on the next time we see you.
Yeah. Well, just on a hopeful note,
Yeah.
we talked a lot about the state of things today, and I find myself in hope that it seems like everybody. You ask anybody what they want. If you had $1 million, what would you do? That buy property, get off grid. Like everybody's kind of at varying levels. They want this sort of decentralized lifestyle, solar punk future thing. There's something inspiring in that because it's like everybody pretty much want, unless you're a venture capitalist killing the game by exploiting people right now. Like you probably just everybody is kind of looking for that. Like I just want to spend time with the people I love.
Yeah.
Like they're concerned with time energy even if they don't have a name for it. They're concerned with circling the void even though they don't have a name for it. Like there's and like it was really cool getting on that Zoom call with Keir and Matthew, in that like we are all sort of orbiting these things and like concerned for these. I don't know. I'm inspired. It's really bleak when you at a certain zoom out, but like, and even when you look, like you just gave me a massive history lesson on things I'd never looked into, but like, and it's bleak back there, and it's bleak out here, but like, there's something about the human spirit that is enduring, and it's, I don't know. I guess I don't know how I was gonna wrap all that up, but like, I don't know. I'm in a place where I am trying to be more present and hopeful and grateful, and there's lots of work to do to fix systems or to make things better, but like it starts here, right? Like it starts in presence with the self, and it starts with putting the fucking phone down and like talking to that person that's talking at you that you don't want to talk to. Be like, this is a human being. Let's connect. Like let's connect
and
right now.
radical grace for that person, even if they're not in your camp.
100%. Like let's yeah. I think that's important to do anything meaningful. And I don't know. I felt like I had to say that because we have talked and we're going to talk a lot about like, oh, this sucks, huh? Like
Yeah.
yeah. And I personally can't stay there for too long, or else I'll stay there for too long. And yeah.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
I can't stay there.
That's my closing. Actually, I also wanted to ask you guys what you thought of the Threads name Carl Darks for me.
Oh.
Don't go on Threads, dude.
Okay. All right. I'm done then.
Wait.
You be Carl Dark on Substack.
Darks.
They'll love that.
Substack?
Oh,
Okay.
Darks.
Dark,
Sorry.
like Marks, but like
Darks. Oh, with an X.
Darks, like darks.
But with an X or?
Sure, yeah,
Okay.
pigment. Pigment darks.
You hate this.
It's fine.
All right.
This was fun. All right, everybody, give it up for these
I think
guys.
I'm done. Yeah, I'm done.
Give it up for these guys. We're gonna do interlude. We've got Glimmer Ditch. Let's go. Glimmerditch, everybody. We're going to get going here with Keir and Matthew. Keir Adrian Gray, welcome to the stage. Keir of The Recovering Anarchist on Substack, both podcast and blog, everybody. Keir Adrian Gray. I can't tell you enough about Keir, but you'll find out in a second. And then Matthew Stanley, also a Substack friend, somebody I met through friends of friends, and I've met lots of other friends through Matthew. And Matthew, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well.
Welcome to the stage.
Yeah.
How's it been?
How has it been? I went to a show recently, so I can't say it's been a while since I've been to a show, but I've never been to a show like this.
How do you think it's gonna go?
How do I think it's gonna go?
Yeah, the underground podcast scene. How do you think it's gonna go? You think it'll be good?
I think it's gonna be great. I actually really do, and I love that we're right at the start of something big.
Yeah, it feels good.
Mm-hmm.
Feels good to be here at the start of something big, right, people? Yeah. All right. But with that said, we're gonna kick this thing off with Keir. But I'll say first, just a quick point of order about time. So here's how it's gonna go down. We're gonna be 30 minutes up here. Then we're gonna have another 15 from the collab between Ricky and Tony, and then we're gonna have a solid 40 minutes up here all together. And so that puts us on getting out the door around 10:30. If you got to go, we'll be available on demand. You can listen to us on the internet. If you want to lay it out on the floor and sleep because you're riding back with us and you can't stay awake and you're pregnant, it's okay. Lay down on the floor. Go to sleep. We got you. But with that, Keir is going to kick this thing off. She's actually prepared. Unlike the rest of us, she did something like whatever that is. Notes?
Yeah, there's something here. It's only because I'm terrified of improvising, but thank you.
When I found out how long your notes were, I was genuinely intimidated.
Excellent. You should be. No. Yeah, thank you so much for coming. The musical interludes are amazing, and Ezra and Alex are hilarious and very smart, so I'm looking forward to chatting with you guys after. All right, here goes. In 2010, when I was 20 years old, I traveled with my friends to protest the G20 in Toronto, Canada. And we had absolutely no idea what we were getting into. The downtown core had been transformed into a militarized zone for the duration of the summit. A bylaw was passed in secret, allowing police to arrest anyone who did not immediately produce their ID. Cops were stalking the aisles of buses and trains, pulling off anyone they deemed suspicious looking. Plainclothes cops were jumping out of unmarked minivans, throwing people inside and driving off. I met a random guy who'd been mistaken for a protester, who couldn't convince the police he was simply walking through a park, and who'd been thrown in jail with a broken jaw. Protesters caught alone were chased into alleyways, surrounded and beaten by groups of cops. Raids were conducted in the middle of the night, where activists slept. Dislocated shoulders, fractured wrists. I was shot with rubber bullets while attempting to leave a peaceful protest. It was a true free-for-all for the police, and they really went for it. The Toronto Police Department denied all of it until doing so became impossible. Among thousands of peaceful protesters, there was a small black bloc contingent who rioted in the streets and attempted to breach the security perimeter. But this was only one day within a full week of peaceful marches, and the police attacked everyone with the same level of force, as well as a bus driver on his way to work and other unlucky passers-by. I wanted to paint a bit of a picture in case you've never experienced a militarized zone or a police state. I certainly hadn't, and I hope none of us ever do. The actions of the police were a national scandal, and the violence was horrifying, but it's not what hobbled the activist community in Toronto for years to come. The summit protests were crawling with undercover police. The ones with earpieces, buzz cuts, and Che Guevara t-shirts were the most easy to spot. especially because they would say no comment if you talk to them. Flip-flops were another tell, because who shows up to a march in flip-flops? It was a bit creepy to have them there, but they were so obvious, it was hard to take them seriously. What was truly devastating was that a number of leftist organizations had been infiltrated for over a year before the summit. There were undercovers who had fully embedded themselves and become trusted comrades who socialized and lived with activists and attended every G20 planning meeting until disappearing into thin air the day before the protests kicked off. It was this discovery that ignited a destructive paranoia within organizations full of activists still nursing fresh wounds, and soon enough, accusations began to fly. People were hounded and shunned. Struggle sessions were held. Groups collapsed under the weight of endless infighting. This early brush with police violence changed me. Someone I knew personally served over a year in prison for his actions at the G20. Someone else found out through a Freedom of Information Act request that police had been tailing her. I haven't submitted my Freedom of Information Act request because I don't really want to know.
You should do it.
Eventually, when I work up to it. I hope I wasn't important enough, but anyway.
That would be telling, right?
State repression was no longer theoretical to me, and I had to decide whether I was willing to live a life of surveillance and potentially imprisonment in pursuit of radical change. Most unsettling, of course, was the fact that if I were being tailed, I wouldn't know it. I'd have to assume that I was, and I'd always have to wonder if a friend or lover might just be a fed. I remember wondering, is it still considered paranoia if you really are being followed? There's a paragraph I edited out, but I want to put it back in. There was an activist named Eric McDavid, who was a member of the Earth Liberation Front, and he was sentenced to 19 years in prison for conspiring to commit arson and sabotage. He actually was released after serving 9 years because the FBI had withheld evidence that he'd been entrapped. He had fallen in love with an informant who encouraged him and supplied him with the materials. And so when I think about power, control, and resistance, there is no clear narrative of a noble security force that is protecting innocent citizenry from violent activists. The real truth of it is so much more tangled and enmeshed than that. And it can drive you crazy if you're not careful. Looking into the history of this, how often there has been FBI or police involvement in sort of these violent moments that we attribute to activists. I'm not letting all the activists off the hook, but it's complicated. Now, obviously, these are extreme examples, but back then, we weren't all carrying a surveillance device in our back pockets. How are we supposed to wrap our heads around the fact that we are being watched in the aggregate, if not individually? How is this affecting our choices and behaviors? And what does it mean for future social movements when the feds no longer have to send an undercover to eavesdrop on meetings? Oh my God. They're here, friends. So when Dave told me the name of this event, my mind gravitated toward the word control. There is a widespread fear that the general population is being controlled. In this highly polarized landscape, we often think of our enemies as brainwashed by elites or controlled by their hatred and stupidity. We like to think of ourselves outside of such influence because it's much more disturbing to consider that we ourselves are being controlled, that our attempts to make change have already been anticipated and foreclosed. Some turn to conspiracy to make sense of this. Political science Michael Barkin proposes in his 2003 book, A Culture of Conspiracy, that conspiracy thinking includes 3 core beliefs. nothing happens by accident, nothing is as it seems, and everything is connected. One can imagine a paradoxical comfort in having such a clear explanation for evil. Ambiguity, complexity, coincidence, and unintended consequences are all abolished. Chaos no longer reigns. It gives evil a name and address, which endows the conspiracy theorist with a membership to the exclusive club, those who know what's up. A thread of paranoia arguably runs through theory and philosophy spaces as well. We evaluate phenomena as though nothing happens by accident. We analyze the gap between what power claims to do and what it really does. And of course, we love to make connections. Once you learn, like Dave said, that public schools were explicitly invented to create obedient workers, because you've read the primary texts, it can be tempting to essentialize the institution rather than grapple with the decades of debate and reform that have occurred in the interim. But this would leave us with a biased and incomplete understanding of how the institution functions today in the lives of school children and their families, and risks flattening real people into obedient automatons, which would have us contributing to that which we are attempting to critique. So what separates critical theorists from conspiracy theorists? How can we guard against totalizing concepts such as power, resistance, and control, to acknowledge contingency, contradiction, coincidence, and chaos? Stay tuned while I turn the page. We must commit to intellectual humility, acknowledge areas of uncertainty, be skeptical of totalizing explanations, as well as emotional appeals that lack substance. We need to maintain perspective to push back on each other, to seek out evidence and counter-arguments for our claims. When we find ourselves reacting in fear, outrage, or disgust, we should remember how these emotions can shut down curiosity and how easily we can be manipulated in those moments. And as hard as it is, we must be willing to change our minds when new information arises. As edgy and exciting as it would be for me to claim that we are all stuck in an invisible prison of social control, this would be dishonest and lazy of me. After all, here we are, gathering to freely and publicly discuss our political beliefs. When we leave this event, we will not be surrounded and beaten in a dark alleyway. We have each, to different degrees, been able to choose where we live, who we love, and what we do for work. It's important that we don't lose perspective on just how much freedom and wealth we have relative to the vast majority of the human population, not only historically, but right now. This is no trivial matter. People have been locked up for much less than we are doing here tonight. And yet, if the Black Bloc had breached the summit perimeter in Toronto that day, what would have happened next? Would the world leadership have passed the anarchists the microphone and listened to their arguments against austerity? Or would the breach have been used to underscore the dangers of a rowdy underclass, strengthening the case for redirecting social program funding towards the security apparatus? Even the most radical contingent of summit protesters, the ones willing to put their very freedom on the line, could only imagine a symbolic victory, a historic picture that would live on in Canadian textbooks, a perfect illustration of the ceaseless acceleration of global capital flow. The way really is shut, as political theorist Benjamin Studebaker argues. There is no clear path for ordinary people to band together to create structural change, or even meaningfully influence their political representatives. Those political representatives have their hands tied by private economic interests. Those private economic interests are entangled in a complex global system, much more powerful than any nation state or a single company. There is an existential helplessness about the future among ordinary people that is very real. So how do we avoid underestimating and overestimating power, resistance, and control, acknowledging that either tendency hobbles our analysis? What sort of theory of change results from a proper calibration that does not see humans as idiot sheeple or creatures of limitless potential? What sort of resistance may emerge? These are some of the questions I look forward to discussing tonight. But before I pass the mic, much like Ezra, I can't end on a low note. Despite all the very real reasons for despair, declaring that resistance is futile will become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Cynicism allows us to give up and drop out, to relinquish our obligations to one another. Those of us on stage tonight do not share a set of political positions in any straightforward way, but we are compelled to examine the same questions and concerns in an atmosphere that encourages diversity of thought and intellectual risk-taking. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that we are all concerned with the quality of life of the ordinary person, that we are troubled both by a progressivism that fetishizes individual desire and the naturalization of a capitalist hierarchy that justifies an immiserated underclass. We dream of structures that will allow for ordinary people to live lives rich in meaning and belonging, where the pursuit of one's passion is not locked behind an exorbitant paywall. And so in that spirit, I'll give the final word to Italian Marxist Antonio Gramsci, who, while imprisoned by Mussolini, wrote in a letter, "I'm a pessimist because of intelligence, but an optimist because of will." Let us hold each other to both.
Can we do the interlude right now? I don't want to talk. I want to think about that. Thank you, Kier.
You're welcome.
Matthew, you look thoughtful.
Yes. Whether they're worth sharing yet is debatable. I want to just cut straight to things and talk about this theory of change. And you said that the idea that resistance is futile becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, and I agree, but at the same time, I still think there's something... There may be reasons to discard the idea of resistance as the organizing motif. You know, there still may be reasons to do that without losing that we're not capitulating to the way things are. You can say, I don't accept the way things are, but resistance as the frame for your activity may not be the best frame still. And where I tend to go with thinking about a theory of change is, how can we be incubating what's next? Like putting our minds ahead to what do we want to create? What is the world and the communities and the things that we want to make? And how can we take concrete steps towards making those things? And I think that there's an element of grace and humility in that, because what you're doing is saying, I'm figuring out how to plant seeds for things that I will never see grow. I see my task as immediately bringing up the children who are going to have children who are going to have children that I'll never meet. But on a longer time scale, I see my task of practicing, experimenting, and failing with making good things that somebody 1,000 years from now might say, there was something good about what he did there, and I think that can help me. I can improve on that. And that to me is, it's the message in the bottle into history. So for me, that's really what I think about. And it comes back to objects of love, I think. What we don't share and what makes resistance and political change so tumultuous is that we're focused on what we hate rather than how do we cultivate what we love. And there's this talk about pursuing ideals and about protecting things like democracy, but I find that all of those phrases that tend to be used in those contexts they're empty signifiers. Like, democracy is just a way of decision making. It's an open-ended process. Inclusivity, equity, these are all empty signifiers that could be interpreted in 1,000 ways, and they don't entail any particular state of affairs or particular objects. And I think that when you come into a relationship of love or care with a particular thing or person or community, that is what forces a process of change, and it radically clarifies your own thinking and action about how you go about living your life and choosing and doing things. And I think what we lack is a shared set of things that we love. There's the lower level of this is that we lack a shared economic base of interest from which we can act. That's if I was speaking from within the capitalist frame, I would say the classes are so fractured that there's no way to build class solidarity because there's not enough shared class interest. You were talking about black sharecroppers and white miners. Insofar as you have white miners who perform an essential function and you have black sharecroppers who perform an essential function, that is the source of their economic leverage. We don't have that economic leverage anymore. This is your whole post-class fractured mess that I think is extremely helpful for clarifying our situation. But if we're going to move beyond we don't have shared economic interests around which to organize, the thing that we're touching on is more than that. We're touching on we don't have shared objects of love because we are trying to think about things that are more than just economic interests, like giving birth to other humans, or when you are crashing out, how do you get help? These are questions are well beyond the realm of economic utility. And that's why we have to get into this messy world of love. I don't know how you get a group of people to love something. And that is not me trying to be pessimistic, but I think that when we clarify the problem down to that level, for me, it is hopeful because I have a belief in the power of love. I think love is something that is a power that is well beyond our understanding and our ability to control it. It can do things that we can't conceive of. So that would be my note of hope, is that can we seek out things that are lovely, and can we cultivate a relationship to things that we want to care for and to improve? That is the way, I think, not resistance, because that activity will generate immense friction. If there's something that hates what you love, and you are loving that thing with all your might, you will generate immense friction. But resistance is not your frame for what you're doing by any means.
Me? Should I say
You ready,
something?
Dave?
Yeah. Let me take this cough drop out of my mouth here. Let me just... It's disgusting, but I'm sorry, everybody. I really like it.
Did you even have a cough, or?
So I had this terrible cold that hit me last week, right at the end of the week, right when everyone was showing up from out of town. And I wanted to say something about it, and I'll use it as a segue into the post-class fractured mass somehow. But basically, everyone has their Achilles heel or their thing, their problem, right? And learning how to be you is learning how to use your problem to your advantage, or finding out in what way that curse is actually a blessing, right? And for me, it really was my inability to sing, because or scream, but any attempt to do anything that could stress my vocal cords at all would result in losing my voice. Now, that's normal. A lot of people lose their voice. Alex loses his voice all the time. Yeah, but it was worse than that because, like, I am prone to laryngitis. And so, or at least that's what they called it when I was a kid. And the point is that I'd lose my voice for like a month and a half, and I could only whisper like this. And that's really bad. It's like, I like to talk. I really like to talk. And that's why I do podcasts. And that's why I don't like being on the left, because if you're a white dude, you're not supposed to talk much. And so it's just like, there's just these certain things where it's just like, don't take my voice. But also, like, my voice gets taken from me by myself. When I get a cold, it's like I eat too much sugar, I get a cold, whatever. And then all of a sudden, I just can't talk for a month and a half. So I had to learn how to, like, be really gentle to my voice. And there was a few years there where I was like, well, I could still be in a band and be a vocalist. I just have to be creative. And there was a couple of years, I think Ricky knows these years, where, like, we had the garage of the place we were all living at soundproofed and everything, and we would, like, do practices and stuff like that, but I would just keep losing my voice. And so, thank God, though, because here's the thing, is if I hadn't that curse, then I wouldn't have gone on to do other things, and I'd probably still be in a band, and I'd be, like, touring right now, you know? Like, I just have a crazy drive, and if I'd gotten a little taste of it, I would have just probably kept going harder and harder and harder, and then I would have been locked into it, and I wouldn't have been able to get out. And so, you know, I think that I've sublimated that repressed drive to be a frontman into all of the stuff that I do with Theory Underground and all of the things that I did before TU. And so that drive was in me as a literal toddler. I would, after church, my parents report, I don't remember this, that I would set up blocks on the floor, and then I would pretend I was the music conductor, leading the music to the blocks. Because I apparently, as a little kid, saw the person leading the music and was like, based. That is so cool. I'm going to be that guy. I also wanted to be a dump truck driver, and neither of these really worked out. But the connection here to, like, losing my voice and the post-class fractured mass and being here in this venue, which is so symbolic and special to me, is basically just like, I think everybody has a voice. I think everybody has the ability to cultivate that voice. I think that contra cure, instead of, it's not just that everybody's dumb sheeple, you know. Actually, we all are. My radical grace is the radical acknowledgement that we are all dumb sheeple, and if you're really good in school, you're probably the most damaged. And the people who, I'm sorry, you both are very good at school. But I'm just saying you're damaged. The damage, you can go really far with
I'm working on it.
Being damaged, you can go very far with that nowadays, actually. There's a whole, I mean, you could actually become the representative of people who are damaged because they were good at school. We could probably start something, but yeah.
This was a trap.
Yeah. It's gonna be a roast, boys. Yeah. So, no, I'm joking. But post-class fracture.
I own the damage label by school.
Thank you.
I own it so much.
And and look, I know, like, if you're competent at letters and numbers, then you are on the top half of the country's population. And if you are really good at one, then that's great. And if you are good at both, then you're special. And people who are really great at those things are not necessarily the same as the people who are really good at getting A's in classes. Those are also two separate skills. And so if you're really good at both those things, and you also literally think in numbers and letters, this is great. You're awesome. You're going to get good grades and you're good at that? Like, you're very special. You're like 1%. But outside of, like, you, and, like, it's like, well, most people aren't. But dumb sheeple goes beyond, like, being good or bad with, like, numbers and letters and historical event facts or whatever. It's like, you know, we all are unable to see the thing that's, like, right in front of our face or whatever. Right? That's what I'm talking about. And I do think that practical people at this point have forms of knowledge that you don't get if you spent your whole life in institutions. And I say practical people, meaning like the 5 billion people on the planet who do necessary labor. And so, and it's like, okay, well, that doesn't mean that they know everything. In fact, they fucking probably don't know shit about a lot of things, right? And they're probably aware of that. And they probably are very humble about it. Most of them are. Of course, there's always going to be something that they're very, very like, oh, I know about that. And it's like, well, okay, but do you really? And it's like, okay. The thing is that there are certain things that we're all good at, and then it gets trained out of us. Generalizing off of experiences. We're all really good at generalizing off of experiences. It's school that teaches you not to do that. And there are people in the school who, like, if you try to generalize at all, they'll shut you down and try, oh, well, that's problematic. It's going to lead to something bad. It's like, well, I didn't say something bad. You're saying it's going to lead to something bad. That's something separate. And so this school brain thing that is anti-generalization also thinks it's very critical and smart when it goes, well, actually. And then it actually forgets that there's a difference between a general rule and a universal law. And so if you generalize about something, they go, well, actually, that's not a universal law because I know somebody who's not like that. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's not what we're talking about. We're just generalizing. And it's not the same as bullshitting like we're shooting this shit. Like, no, it's like we're actually talking about something real. It's just not always that way. But I didn't say it's always that way. Philosophers are like this. And so philosophers, that's my thing. I like to study them. But they're all like messed up. And so I think that like they're kind of dumb sheeple who are really, really smart on something and then just really dumb on a lot of other things. And so it's like normal people have like some great thought every day. And then like Kant takes one of those great thoughts and like makes it his whole life, and then people go, well, that's Kant's idea. It's like, no, normal people think that. I've always thought that, and now we have to use like this brand name that requires like a doctorate to even talk about it. Come on. Actually, no, that's called the capture of like normal observations, and someone just went way too far with it because he probably had autism. Okay, we could calm down with Kant. And not everybody has to read Kant to have a conversation about, like, for instance, my mom doesn't read Kant, but as a little kid, she said, hey, well, don't pick those flowers. If you pick those flowers, then everybody else picked those flowers. You know what would happen if everybody picked flowers? There wouldn't be any flowers left. How would you like that? I was like, oh, damn, this is deep. Well, guess what? She didn't read Kant, but that's the categorical imperative. Am I supposed to be like, hey, Mom, by the way, I went to college and I found out what you were talking about. That was actually just Kant. You're a plagiarist. No. No, Kant had a normal observation. Yeah, I should.
Julie would take it well.
Yeah. She'd be like, who? Kant? What? Yeah, and so.
Don't tell me what I can't do.
Don't tell me what I can't do. Now, look, I understand that the schooling system's gotten a lot more sophisticated and that there are a lot of teachers behind enemy lines. And like my whole thing with the left as well is like I want to tell everybody, you are behind enemy lines and your side lost a long time ago. And we need to come to terms with that and stop being ridiculous. Like, we need to be aware of all the things that you said in your paper and not be paranoid. And by the way, it is paranoid to act paranoid when you are being followed, because that's pathological. Just because you are being followed or listened to doesn't mean you need to be paranoid. Being paranoid is pathological behavior, and it's like Lacan said, just because like this man's wife is cheating on him doesn't mean he needs to act pathological about her cheating on him. He just needs to grow the fuck up. All right, dude, this is your situation. Let's talk about it. You're not gonna fight the guy and try to kill him, okay? Like, that's not, grow up, all right? Your marriage is fucked. Now you need to come to terms with that. And so this is kind of how I'm thinking about all this stuff about paranoia. Is like, well, it's pathological. I'm worried about that. I have a responsibility as an educator. When I do critical theory, people do go off their paranoid sort of high horse, and it gets really, really dark, especially with this word misanthropy that means like the hatred of humanity. And so that is where you end up if you're super intellectual and you feel like everybody else is really stupid, and you end up like Nietzsche being a misanthrope, right? And so I don't think that's good. But bringing it back to being an educator, in the post-class fractured mass, what does that actually mean? Does it mean I should just go to the university and only teach people who are the upper half of the population who made it in, and who are like, and then really focus on those couple of gifted students who also happen to care about whatever it is that I'm teaching, or they vibe with me, whatever. I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. And I didn't like that people were having to do the things that they were having to do, because I ultimately don't think that, those of us who are behind enemy lines teaching, I think that's great. But at the same time, there's only so much you can do within the institution. You can try to flip the classroom and say, we're not even going to do grading. We're not doing grades, guys. And then like you really piss off like at least half the class, and then they stop attending. And I've tried a lot of different things. I've tried to be more authoritarian. I've tried to be more permissive. And I've tried to work with people because at the end of the day, I just want them to be, it's like if you're interested in this, cool. But like we're also programmed by capital. We're also programmed by institutional incentive structures and symbolic capital and fields. And so we do have to understand these things. Okay, to close it all up, the post-class fractured mass, that thesis is saying the advanced workers, they got displaced by the college educated. And the entire system was to make conditions so that we're so atomized we can't organize. And it was to weaponize education against the very things it's supposed to be for, which is having your time energy freed up so that you can actually engage in scholarly activities as like a free spirit who's curious about things. Instead, we ended up on our phones and video games. This is pretty much what it is, even for college students. So what do we do about that? Well, I mean, if you care about organizing or if you care about learning, if you care about changing the world or if you care about people becoming educated, in either case, the situation is the same. We're in the post-class fractured mass where people are super atomized. Nobody has shared love objects. We're also surveilled. We're also preempted. We are also captured. But we also probably shouldn't be pathological and paranoid. So what do we do? And for me, it is about finding a way to discover and hone our voice and figure out like what we actually do care about. And it's an unironic embrace of self-actualization that at the same time requires us deprogramming ourselves from everything that became. And that pretty much my whole life has been an opportunity, an effort to find my voice. And that every time I feel like I found it, I realized a couple years later it was co-opted and it was just playing off of some liturgy or script for something that I didn't even realize was like this invisible institution that I was in, And so that's kind of how I feel about the left at this point, as far as it's like, well, I like leftists, I like Christians, but I don't really love how the institution tends to relate to the people. And so I have a lot of friends who want to change these institutions or harness these movement energies, and then I have a lot of friends who are like, nope, those just hurt people. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not really sure. I'm pretty agnostic about all of it. So.
Yeah, this is reminding me, before we got on stage, some of us were talking about like the amazing gift of youth, like how much energy you have. You think you know so much, and there's something like so precious about that, so fleeting about it, and annoying, obviously. But yeah, I remember being 20 and talking to a roommate of mine, and my roommate had like a master's in women's studies or something like that, and I really looked up to this person politically. And I remember saying something about like something kind of romantic, where I was like, I like to think about the things that all human beings have in common. We can all appreciate a sunset. We all love babies. We love to laugh together. And my friend was like, that's problematic.
I hate babies.
And I just remember being like, what? Like, and I'm sure that they gave some long speech about different cultures, and I don't remember the specifics, but I remember feeling like chastened and being like, oh, like there's something I don't know that makes that bad. And I feel like, there is a really serious like anti-social tendency within the left that dooms it completely. Like, how could you possibly be like, oh yes, let's have a mass movement, let's organize the workers, but like you can't even like talk to a plumber, like, because you're just like so much better than they are. That like
not everybody likes sunset.
I know, right? Like, I'm just like, how dare you? Like, looking back, and I'm like, you know what? No, I was right. Like,
You were right here.
It took me like 15 years, but I'm like, no. That is a beautiful thing, And I don't know. I think like this conversation around like the term resistance, right? The idea of being post-capitalist, perhaps post-left, post-woke, rather than anti. Like, what is the difference there? And, you know, if we are looking to generate things, to nurture things, I don't think it's possible to do that from a paranoid place or a misanthropic place. And I think that is the correct word for the type of leftist or activist. Actually, Matthew, I think you'll appreciate this. It was a book, I can't remember what it was. It was about a young woman who decided to attend a church, I think to write a book about young people joining churches, and through that process surprised herself by becoming a Christian. And she is a lesbian. And in this interview, I heard her
Rosario
say...
Butterfield.
Probably, yeah.
Zara Butterfield?
It's Rosaria Butterfield?
Zaria.
Yeah.
It was a great interview. She was talking about going to a Bible study, and sort of the interesting experience of doing that as sort of like an urban queer, you know, person who'd always been an atheist. And it really struck me what her takeaway ended up being, spending time at this Bible study. And one week it was her birthday and someone had baked this big cake. And she basically was contrasting that Christians seem to love people and not necessarily identities. Like, they really cared about her and embraced her, and they didn't approve of her sexuality. And Rosario went on to say, leftists seem to love identity, but not the people. Right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, so you love this minority group in theory, but you fucking hate, like, the actual person in front of you, you know? Like,
I'm not that queer person.
yeah, exactly. You're the worst, but... Right, yeah.
Love the sin, hate the sinner.
Yeah. There's something striking about that to me.
Matthew, I think you should probably take the last word here because we're going to close out and maybe look at the next 4 minutes. So.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot to say, but I would close with, identity is bullshit. We shouldn't prioritize identity over people because identity is, I agree with the Buddha, it's an illusion. To some extent, it is a necessary illusion that arises from the experience of having a body and being born and all of these various things. I agree with that. I think psychoanalysis is dead on with that as well. You are not your ego. You are not an identity. You are not even a bundle of identities. And I think that the left building its politics around identity was a massive, massive mistake. And there are people who engaged in that behavior knowing it was a mistake. And there's a lot of people who did it not realizing it was a mistake. And I think we're living in the aftermath of realizing building a politics around an illusion that is continually fracturing itself, that only creates more division, that only incites greater violence and anxiety. Because that's what the realm of the ego is. The ego is this object that when threatened, it results in these violent impulses to protect and to keep it from being dissolved. It's a desperate impulse. That's some of kind of the worst, lowest instincts in who we are as human beings. And so to build a politics around that is just asking for failure. Now, I could comment on the right, but we're not talking about that. I think identity is an illusion that the left needs to move beyond a politics centered around identity.
And you'd say the same thing of the right, but we're just not going to talk about that. But you're saying you would say it's also bullshit and the right just needs to move beyond that.
Yeah, since I am on the right and in those conversations, I can bring a lot of texture to that conversation. But yes, I think that there's elements within the right that are like adopting the left's identity politics movements. There's also elements within the right that they use race as as an identity category, and race and identity are different, but race is also an equally abstract concept that produces its own issues. So those would be my brief comments on the right.
Wow, I wasn't going to out you guys like this, but yeah, there you go, everybody. Post-duopoly, here we are, left and right. We got them all. We got them, guys. Everybody give it up for Matthew and Keir. And we'll be right back.
Thank you, everyone.
After, I don't know if you guys approved of this, but I wanted to call, we got Glimmer Ditch and Slow Walker. So together, is it Slow Ditch or is it Glimmer Walker? Slow Ditch. Let's go. Slow ditch, everybody. Woo! Oh, come on. Do it again for slow ditch. Yeah. Good job, everybody. All right, now I'm going to invite up to the stage Matthew Stanley, Kier, Adrian Gray, Ezra, Danger, Winfrey, Christopher, and Alex Chapin. Get up here. Let's go. Let's do this thing.
Stuck in the middle with you.
Could I get another chair up here?
From the margins.
Yes, it were.
Let's center the margins.
Class fracture.
This one right in the middle.
I'm the monkey.
And nobody else is allowed to talk besides who sits in this chair.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if
Test. All right.
I don't know if I buy into
This
that
is,
rule.
I love that.
How's this? How's the levels on new mic?
The moment it came out of my mouth, I was pissed.
Where did this
Old
come
friends and new.
from? The habanero spicy.
You know, Alex made a joke earlier, but it might not have been a joke. I think he was just vibing, and he said, you know, it's comrade, not friend. And I want to lead off with something about that one. I actually really offended a friend in college because, I was like really into this stuff. And I was like, I said, I don't care about friends. Everybody wants to just go hang out and talk about stuff and see how you're doing. I'm like, we're trying to do a revolution here. And I was like, I don't want friends. I want comrades. It's cool if you're a friend also, but I want comrades. I want to be able to do stuff with people. And it's like the most instrumentalized anti-human thing a person could do. And a great example of that would be like Lenin. And Lenin was like, I don't have time for music. This is like a bourgeois pastime. Music, blah. And I think it was like, was it Emma Goldman or someone was like,
If I can't dance, it's not my revolution.
If I can't dance, it's not my revolution. She would have loved Dance Revolution for that matter. She
She would have gone crazy for that.
She would have loved that. Emma Goldman, Dance Revolution. Come on. All right. So anyway, friends, not comrades. Maybe comrades, but definitely friends.
I look for co-conspirators, not comrades.
Ooh.
And speaking of conspiracies, I prefer to be in the conspiracy rather than believing that there's another conspiracy.
Right.
Okay.
That you're in.
Okay,
But are
like,
you post-terrorist?
I've never been terrorist.
Are you post-conspiracy?
What's up with that?
I am the conspiracy.
Oh, okay, the whole
An
time. All right.
active conspiracy.
Every.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I'm actively conspiring.
It's like, yeah.
Let's put it in the super. Let's use a verb.
Yeah.
You can't see his face. You need
So
his face.
cool.
I would try to do that. I gotta get out of the way.
So, I got to be with all of you, and I was sort of the connective tissue here. And I was on your podcast, and then I was like kind of on your guys' thing, and then but now you're all on my thing in a sort of sense. Like this is TU. I brought you all together, but I really just want to see you guys talk because I get to talk to you all the time. And at this point, I know you're all very excited to talk about each other's things, and so just go. Let's go. Get after it. Who wants to talk about Kier's presentation or something like that?
Or anything else.
Yeah. Or whatever.
I still want to know more at some point Matthew's specific focus, Moloch theory. You kind of overviewed it on the precast thing, but before that, you guys both it's so serendipitous. I don't know, but there's a lot of things falling out of me lately, and it feels like this event is the timing of it's really divine, for lack of a better word, because it's like these things have fallen out of me, and you guys are here tonight on stage naming them for me, and it's like. The whole Christians care about people, they don't care about the identity. Leftists the left doesn't care about the person. They only care about identity. Or, I don't know if I chopped that or if I just messed that up. But
You got it.
boy, that just cracked me open in a lot of ways. And yeah, just I don't know. I'm just stammering now. Phenomenal. You guys are. I want to talk to both of you more. And Alex and I were talking about it, and we're probably going to talk to you more about it at the farm when we do that on Saturday. But
right now, let's talk.
You gotta come on. I want to do like a Zoom call or a Discord thing or something with each of you at different points on State of Things to talk to you more about kind of what you've overviewed here. Because boy,
Sweet.
very excited to talk to you guys more about that. But that's all I'll say about that.
I feel the same about you too. So looking forward to future collaborations
Yeah,
and also
yeah.
this one right now.
Yeah.
And also, and we're in one right now.
We are.
We're doing. Oh yeah, we're already doing it.
Yeah. We're not wrapping it up yet.
Guys, we should talk later. Can we talk later? I want to go to bed. That's the equivalent of metal bands like Big Things Coming. Just announce the fucking thing.
Yeah. Okay, but it means a lot coming from Ezra because he is the tribune of the plebs. You want to say something about that?
Well, I thought I was going to be more representative of the everyman here, or the commoner or whatever, just asking questions and stuff. But I don't have any questions really right now. I was just praising. You guys are to be on this stage with some of the most intellectually focused, thoughtful people at this time in my progression of awakening, or using that very loosely. It's such a incredible honor. I think I'm gonna spin out about it all weekend. I don't know, but yeah, I don't have anything as far. I love the name Tribune of the Plebs, but I don't think I'm doing it super great. We'll try better next time.
You brought up
That-
eggs,
I think-
so that was.
Oh yeah, I am
did
doing it.
talk
I'm
about
doing it. Wow.
No, I think like it's. I don't think we should. This might be tooting my own horn, but I don't think we should underestimate how special this is, and it is how I have felt about being involved in Theory Underground, and particularly doing things in person, right? And there's like constant reminders of how unusual this is. Like even I shared a taxi when I got here with this woman, and she asked me what I was here for, and I was like, oh yeah, politics podcast, and she kind of talked about like her heartbreak and falling out with her brother, who's a Trump supporter, and she was talking about how woke just means being nice, and all of these things that I used to say and think, and it's like it's just a reminder of like how tragic of a moment we are in, where we've lost a universal center, we've lost like common love objects, to the point where we're discarding our loved ones, and so I think the post-duopoly commitment allows for something very special to happen. And if you do want to say a bit more about the post-duopoly of it all, Dave.
Probably do.
Probably should say something about it.
I know you do want to. I could see it.
I don't want to talk anymore, guys. I've talked
Okay,
too
well,
much.
let me talk then.
You explain post-duopoly.
Yeah, come on, Alex. You know a little
you do it.
post-duopoly.
No, but I did
I
want to
actually
say
do want to
how
hear Alex try.
me to explain post-duopoly.
Exam time, pop quiz.
What is the duopoly? That is the dual party system that continues to produce the same exact circuit that we're all in. Not circus. Why did I say
Hey, no,
circus?
that was
But
a
it is
great
kind of a
slip
circus.
because it's both true.
a circus
Freud-
circuit.
Yeah, thanks, Freud.
I mean, it's been
But-
a circuit for a long time, but it's been a real circus for the last 10
It's a
years.
circuit that we just keep revolving.
Yeah.
But there's something so beautiful, about what you said about tragic but beautiful here in this space, because we all come from different places and like intersect in these different ideas and from very different schools of thought, or very different traditions, or very different upbringings, or different sides of the political spectrum, and it is a spectrum, and so, or it's probably more than a spectrum. That's probably duopoly thinking, right?
Nice
But-
catch.
But to be here and to be able to engage in these conversations and to come together in a sense of like, well, what can we build beyond that? Where can we come together and find shared objects of love that are from entirely different traditions and throw away with what the cultural imperative of like, no, we shouldn't have conversation, we shouldn't have dialogue, we should thrust the person out that believes this thing or that thing or is captured by this school of thought or this ideology. Like, it's bullshit and it's horrible and it's so it's beautiful that we're here, and as pessimistic as I can look at the world and my position in it and just being in the world, a lot of the time I feel like a lot of hope in this and like a lot of what I've been looking for, a lot of what I think is going to be what helps us steward a better future together. So, yeah, I'm happy about it.
I think I'm picking up on a theme of the pessimism is something we spiral out on. The critical theory gets too critical. It also gets a little too paranoid. And there's still some irrational optimism that is less of a product of theory than it is of just actually doing stuff together. And that, I think that this relates to the push, the big move here of more doing stuff in person, which is what this has been a non-negotiable for me for the last 3 years. I've been saying, we have to be moving around. We have to actually go meet people. We can't have people in the audience thinking that we're not coming to a city near them. Even if we don't ever come to a city near them, they need to realize that it's a possibility. And if you don't meet me in the next few years, it's not because of anything but a choice. If you are watching me, lurking on the internet, watching me, and you decide to never say it to my face, that was your choice. I have been out here, and I'm not going away. My address is on the internet. The only reason I don't do what Alex did 10 years ago and put my social security number in my actual Facebook
Facebook
profile
name was his social security number.
is because I think
your mom freaked.
it seems like that would probably complicate things for me a little bit. So I don't know, but address. It's on the internet, And
I love that you brought that up.
Anne's face right now. Anne's face right now is incredible. Yeah. Why? Actually,
Resistance, of course.
Oh man.
I was like, if that's all I am
I remember
to you, then guess what? I'm gonna be.
I remember trying to check you on it too. Just like, dude, what do you like?
I was so stubbornly.
Someone could steal your identity. You're like, oh fuck, oh no, and then what?
My identity.
Oh no.
Identity is bullshit.
He's like, I'm just going to
He
use
was
all
already
these
there.
college loans to
Did
get
access
tattoos,
your
and you'll never see me
850
again.
credit score, right?
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah.
I'm not that guy. I'm so much more than my
He's
really
got
bad
free
credit
dirt
score.
on his knuckles, guys. I mean,
That's a good
it's
story.
Alex Chaffin. Come on, this is what do you
He doesn't know.
what do you think? What do you think he's gonna do? I remember when you did that. I remember thinking like
Free dirt or the social security number?
Social Security.
Yeah, dog.
Free dirt. I was like, cool, man. But then I was like, I don't know about that, dude. Yeah, that's.
I don't
pretty
know if
radical.
anybody took it or did anything with it. I mean, I've never experienced any seeming punitive anything. I did nothing.
Right, maybe we should all do it and just see what happens.
See?
They can't steal all our identity.
I mean, he's still here somehow.
Right? Yeah.
Okay.
Identity is bullshit in practice.
Yes.
Yeah. I just took it really literally.
Exactly.
Anyway,
That
anyway.
was a full circle. Amazing. Circling the void. I have a question for you, Matthew.
Okay.
When I got involved with Theory Underground, which I was like a year and a half ago, I think, as far as I know, you were the only Christian involved. I could be wrong. Maybe the only vocal.
I think, isn't Tyler Murphy?
Tyler's a Christian.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
There
so
are
not
two.
the
And
only.
The Garners, OG Rose is to some
Oh.
extent a fellow traveler and involved. And I think there's a few kind of lurking. But I definitely sensed when I came into Theory Underground, got the sense that religion is just not on the radar at all, and it was just not to be brought up. That was like my intuitive sense of being in the group. Yeah.
Which was exoterically true, like public-facing true. Insider conversations behind closed doors, me and one of the closest at the center of the circle, it was like a constant issue. And actually, like, I was like, I've always been kind of interested. Well, okay, I can't say I've always been interested in theology, but I've definitely always been anti. I'd say since like 6 years ago, I have been anti-atheist. I think it is metaphysically and epistemologically pretentious. But outside of that, if I mean, I'm totally fine with being an atheist at a certain level. But the real, I mean, is the hubris of being like, oh no, there is no God. It's just like,
That's
bro.
annoying.
I mean, if you studied metaphysics, dude, reality is complicated, and saying anything certain about it is really complicated. And you're being really simplistic, and you're just shitting on like most of the people on the planet. Like that's really convenient for you to just be. But outside of that, it was the organizing thing. It's just like you want to organize with people, and you're gonna go around and be an atheist. Like that's incredible. So even as a leftist, I remember thinking like, well, that's a bad idea. You can't. Like I left New Atheism the moment I started caring about like Bernie. I remember thinking like, well, I mean, it was Marx, Bernie, like the whole pipeline of just being like, oh, so the whole culture war of just like secular versus religious is that stupid. Right? And I think that the New Atheism fell apart at the time of the Great Awakening, in 2016. And so, because it couldn't mediate that split. Like it had everyone was really good at being secular, but like no one had thought seriously about anything religious that was sophisticated like at all. At all. And the smartest people I was meeting in philosophy clubs were usually religious. So.
Kira, I cut off your question by nitpicking a detail. I apologize.
No, I'm just curious because clearly there has been like a growing interest in the larger theory and philosophy scene as well as within Theory Underground and just the conversations that are being had. Like Christianity has entered the chat, perhaps.
Yes.
And I
Slid
would
into my
just
DMs.
love to throw that to you, whether you would... Yeah, whatever you want to do with that.
Yeah, I have a lot of positive and negative feelings about it. Okay, there's a lot of things to say. The
About
first
Christianity or about it entering theory?
about the way that religion generally, but Christianity in particular, is making a comeback in intellectual circles. That phenomenon is of course, it's very personal for me. It also has idiosyncratic dimensions because the Christianity that seems to be coming back into vogue is Roman Catholicism, which is not my cup of tea. So
God.
that's very interesting. I'm of course happy that more people are deciding to actually show up to church, hear what Scripture has to say, encounter an alternative to what our culture has on offer. Like you've talked about, a community, a reconciling community that is built around love, that is built around sacrifice, and that centers the divine rather than the human, that has a space for things that are beyond just reason eating itself, that it has a transcendental orientation, that it attempts to provide a foundation for those things that secularism and capitalism have just stripped mined from our culture. I celebrate that, and I'm happy about that. I think there's an extent to which that is it is overblown. Like intellectual circles think that because it's happening here, it's happening everywhere. There's a sense in which it's actually it is overrepresented in intellectual circles. So there's something interesting about that phenomenon.
Is that Roman Catholicism or just this resurgence of Christianity?
The
in
resurgence of Christianity in general.
Okay.
Like pretty much everywhere. The good news is that the people no longer identifying religious has stabilized. So we're not getting new atheists and agnostics. We've sort of found some sort of an equilibrium. But all denominations, including the Roman Catholic Church, continue to hemorrhage people every year. The only denominations that are growing are, well, non-denominational megachurches, basically. So that's very interesting. There's a Substack by a guy named Ryan Burge, who's a sociologist who studies all of the data about religion in America, and he's very interesting. My thing in all of this is, as happy as I am to see people coming back to Christianity to just be curious about it, just to encounter it, just to learn more and to reassess this thing that is old, it's a part of our culture, and in some ways is in your bones more than you realize. I am worried that people are coming back to it for utilitarian reasons of like, hey, I've lost X and I want to get X. You know, I'm coming to the church, I'm coming to God because I want community, because I want connection, because I want a stable culture, because all of these things, Of course, God is a bounteous giver of gifts, and he has many great things for his children in store. And yet, there's something about the orientation of, I'm going to church because I want something, or I'm going to come back to reassess Christianity because there's something that I'm missing and I'm hoping to get it. I don't want to alienate people. You asked me about it, so I'm emphasizing the part that is kind of like what I would maybe keep to myself. If somebody was really happy and excited and wanted to come back to learn more, I would support that and nourish it and want to feed that. The thing that worries me is, and this is the Protestant, do you have a relationship with God? Do you want to know God? Like, do you want to have an encounter? And like, how do you feel about being reduced to worship? Like, how do you feel about worshiping something? Like, I think a lot of people are interested in, engaging in a community and doing a ritual. But what is it like to engage in wasteful speech of praising something over and over again, and of being lost in just an overwhelming sensation of you're encountering something and all you can do in the face of it is just pour out with poetry? I hope that these folks who are reassessing the role that Christianity could have in their life, I would hope that they would come to the point where no longer are they like, I'm in church because I want community, but I'm in church because I want to know God more deeply. I want to be in a relationship with the divine. And once you start picking up your cross and walking, then you find, oh, there are others walking with me. And that's the source of the connection. And that's the source of the bond and the solidarity, is the shared object of love, which is God himself. That is what I hope people will find. And I'm not saying that it won't happen, because I believe that it can, and it does every day. But that is my desire in all of this. I hope that the level that it's at is not where it remains. And yet I'm very happy that people are realizing what's been lost and they want to come back and think about it again. So thank you.
Kier outs him as right. Now she outs him as Christian. Puts him on the spot both times. Anyone else want to be in the hot seat? I can talk about it. Hard to talk about things, but no, yeah. How about you go, Ezra?
It's interesting. I hadn't realized that you were a practicing Christian, I'm not sure if you're willing to divulge your denomination if you have one or whatever. We don't even got to go there. But like, just for fun, I was raised Christian, the type of Christian the Pentecostal, the kind that speak in tongues and holy roll, and convulse and.
That's how my wife grew up. Yeah.
What's that?
That's how my wife grew up.
Okay, yeah. Obsessed with the rapture and end times, and my dad spoke of the seventh trumpet often, and I lost a ton of sleep. It was traumatizing as a child. It kind of robbed me of my future. I've said before, but I'm, and then and Alex and I have talked about this on a state of things, but. When I deconstructed or whatever, that's I'm kind of tired of that word. But like, I was angry, you know what I mean? And like there was a time if you and I met 15 years ago and you're like a Christian, I would have been like, what the fuck for? Like I would have been so upset and like trying to shake your faith and tear you down. But now I'm through conversations with Alex and other people too. It's like I'm coming back to this appreciation of Jesus and Scripture and I recognize the connectivity of that community, that ritual, the worship, it's as you said it once, to like it's so intrinsic to the human story. We came up like dancing around fires together and doing tribal ritual things and Christianity. I don't know in what regard.
It's Lindy.
What's up?
It's Lindy.
He's back, dude. But yeah, I don't. There's something. I'm seeing the value of Christianity, even though I have some serious reservations and critiques of Western Christianity in particular, because it seems like Christianity for Western culture is more the worship of power and less the worship of Christ, or even and the word worship kind of gets a little for me, because it's like there's something in me, and I have no readings or writings to base this on, but it just feels like some problem I've always had with the generalization of Christianity is living for the divine, because for whatever reason, God or a divine spirit, to me anyway, and my journey reaching for it and the times that I have, it feels as though we're cut off from it. And I almost think that is necessary. That's part of this arrangement down here in this material world. I don't know if we were wanting to get this heady with it, but we're cut off from it for a reason, maybe. Or I like to lean into like, yeah, I'm cut off from whatever put me here, because I'm not supposed to be living for an eternity. I'm supposed to be here, eyes up, eyes forward,
right.
Like, stop missing things. But I still, I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to reconcile this whole point or anything. But like, I like the feeling it's giving me coming back to Christianity in some regard. I'm not claiming Christianity, but I think I am a follower of Christ in a lot of ways. Like, I think that I anything that he says, any way that he acted, any way that he was anti-empire, like I'm with that guy. Like, anyway, I think that's cool. Thank you for sharing your thing. That was cool. I don't know if you have anything.
And I would say I agree. Eyes forward. There's a sense in which we are and were cut off, but I think that the story doesn't end there. It's like what makes Christianity so strange is that God is the one who bridges the gap, and God becomes a human being, and God takes on our own infirmities and struggles and enters into them in the humiliation.
Are you Eastern Orthodox?
No, I'm
Okay, sorry. Go ahead. I'm going to stop trying to figure out. Go ahead.
What I'm
Magisterial
saying-
Protestant
what I'm saying
fusionism. Actually,
is
that's what it is.
Orthodox, but it's not Eastern Orthodox.
Okay.
That to me is like, yeah, it would make sense to be like, yeah, we're just cut off. We've got no access, but God leaps over all of that, and he reveals himself. He's the initiator in the relationship. And so there's a sense in which we can't look at our own inability, because the one who even made that inability has already overcome it. And now we have to struggle with that void. We have to struggle with that gap, because there is a gap. There is this paradox and tension of living in the spirit, of being human and becoming like God, of taking up our cross daily, dying to our flesh, repentance. All of these are paradoxical things. How do you die to live? All of these things. There's no end to exploring these voids.
Magnificent.
I couldn't have more reservations about what you just said, but I can respect it.
That's what we're here for.
We should do a
And,
debate next time.
Yeah, I know. It should be a debate with me and Matthew, actually. But I want to hear from Alex before I go off on my defense of performative Christianity. But, yeah, what do you think about all that stuff, Chaffin?
I think I just shittily went through most of his points.
The pass.
There were so many moments that I wanted to piggyback on what you were
yeah,
saying. I'm like,
dude.
give me. Oh wait.
You glossed.
Just
You
deeper,
glossed.
right? Come on.
Which,
It's
what
like
do
you know that my back itches, but you won't get the itch.
what do you think about what Ezra said about how I wouldn't claim Christianity, but I'm a follower of Christ? And I was gonna say, yeah, what if it's you don't claim Christianity, but Christianity you've realized claims you?
Give me 2 mics, please. It's interesting because I don't come from the same background religiously at all. I come from my dad was very secular, didn't fucking believe in anything religiously, nothing outside of this, material world. And my mom desperately wants to believe. I don't know if she does or doesn't, but she tried to bring us to church growing up, and I don't feel like I have a religious trauma, but I do feel like I have like a cultural inclination towards believing that experiencing trauma, even just parasocially, from others as like what Christianity is. Mm-hmm. But that to me isn't the full story, and in the last I don't know, however long, years, months, just deliberating on the idea that like that isn't the whole story, and looking into or more orthodox traditions and more mysticism, and hearing people talk about when people talk about God as a human being, when they anthropomorphize God. And it almost makes him a demigod that's not actually God, that they can relate to. That's flesh. That's human. That's simple. It's very simplistic. It's very reductionist, and that was always the part that I didn't get. Like some guy with a beard and a dick in the sky. That's like, hey guys, he's got. Don't do that. But it's like I couldn't handle that. But like, and there's always been a sense within me that wants, that yearns for, that craves, that encounters the experience of like animacy and relationality with the world, and experiences that world in glimpses as divine. And so considering God as how I've heard it spoken as the ground of being, and it almost like a panentheistic sense of God is in everything and beyond everything. It feels to me a better way of looking at the possibility of God, even in a Christian sense, and then too, the interface, the relationship of God coming into the flesh and experiencing suffering, and then dying on the cross, and then resurrecting, because love outlasts death. It's like, and what Jesus represented actually in Scripture, not how people fucking bastardize what Jesus might have or might not have represented, which is the cultural trauma. Thinking about it in such terms as like, yeah, how can it feels like something that I could also be open to being claimed by, and it's strictly me intellectualizing and not strictly me intellectualizing, but me thinking through it logically, and then knowing how I experience the world in moments as divine, and wanting more of that experience, wanting to like encounter that, sit with it contemplatively, and listen to it and receive it as divine. There's something there for sure. So the disavowal of Christianity so often comes from this cultural trauma and the resurgence of it, whether it wants to claim the cultural trauma or not. There's a much deeper structure of why people probably do that, are coming back to Christianity than just, that cultural trauma that they're so used to.
Ezra mentioned Jesus as anti-empire, and I just wanted to briefly connect this back to the theme of the night of power, control, and resistance. And I think that Foucault in particular makes this point that the Christian church is this early incubator of techniques of resistance and of even objectifying and working on the self. He talks about practices like asceticism as a form of resistance, because what it does is when you engage in an ascetic act, you engaged in an unmediated relationship with your own body, where a priest or an authority figure is not involved in that relationship. And so he kind of catalogs in one of his lectures these various practices that he sees as kind of proto-forms of resistance that were developed within Christian communities that he thinks can perhaps be adapted and have been adapted in certain ways within secular communities. And so I would say that Christianity, religion in general, but Christianity in a very interesting and different way, is one of the oldest discourses wrestling with problems of power, domination, resistance. And so that tradition is a wealth of thinking on these questions that I think some people appreciate, and others don't realize that the wealth is there.
Yeah, I'd never did for a long time. I just kind of disavowed that entirely. I was like, this is power. This is all this can be, is power. Mm-hmm. I've experienced it as power, as structural power, as domination, and to know that it's like, no, that's not what it's actually rooted in at all. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And of course, if you think, the teachings of Christ, like they aren't rooted in that kind of power. So, yeah.
Dave's pissed.
He'll forgive me, though.
I want to hear what Kier thinks about religion. I don't know.
She likes to ask questions, but she doesn't talk about it very much.
Yeah, you've been going to church. So Kier got involved with Theory Underground, and not much later, Ann and I started going to churches, and we said we were doing alien anthropology. We wanted to go see what the people who still have community in the post-class fractured mass actually do. Because no one else has community, not really. And so, like, what's going on with these people? And calling it alien anthropology, like the idea of that, there's a whole bunch of stuff we've done under that header. But that one in particular, like, it's basic, or the whole thing is if you go for the PCFM thesis, the post-class fractured mass, if you really take it to heart, you're going to go, okay, this is a different kind of reality than I thought it was. We don't actually know other people, right? We don't actually know our neighbor. We say, oh, American culture, or the left, the right, the this, the that, the other. We don't actually know people, because if we're really in the post-class fractured mass, then we're so different, then way more different than we realize. And so we tend to oversimplify otherness and difference, and also people are one-dimensionalized by a really simplistic work routine or whatever. But no, people have these hidden depths and differences that we are not intelligible to us. And so the idea of alien anthropology is like you go to like churches or places like that. I mean, this is one phase of it. There were other phases. and stop being an American and curating your identity by saying, I like that, I don't like that, 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 like you're some 12-year-old like working yourself out on social media. It's like, no, you're actually supposed to like go and be like, oh, I'm a cultural outsider, or like, what's this like? What are they all about? Like, what's this actually doing? They'll tell me what they believe, and then there's also how they act, and not all of them are the same. And unless you're around for a while, you're not gonna be able to really say anything about any of that that's getting at anything real, right? And so alien anthropology is supposed to counter that. And you know, the anthropologists go into the bush and they're around people who are like very different and don't wear clothes, you know, like, or not what we would consider clothes anyway. And then like they have a very different form of life. And you're trained as an anthropologist to like see. You're not doing sociology, okay? Because sociology is like, who are we? What is our society? Whereas, which is usually code for like developed society. And then anthropology is like the other. What are they all about? And you know, thanks to woke anthropology, we can't say they're primitive, we can't say they're savage, we can't say that, you know, all of these other things. But in reality, anthropology, the division between anthropology and sociology is based in the idea that they're so radically other that they deserve a different kind of science and the kind of science that we use in the developed world. So anthropology, you could change the words, but it's about savages. And so, you know, it's about understanding the primitive mentality. It's about going in there. And the thing is anthropologists, going back to the very early ones, they're all super woke, super progressive. And I mean that in the positive sense, for once. Like, actually, this is like a good thing. They were like, hey, maybe we can learn things from other people, and maybe like maybe they're not all the same. And so, you know, guys like Boaz, like and Levi Brule, they're not out there trying to do some epic takedown that's like, look, they suck. They're actually like, oh no, like we should go. So like Margaret Mead, she goes and spends time with the Samoans, and she's like, hey guys, like there's stuff that they're doing, like we actually need to be in touch with this, right? So anthropology has a respect for the other, for this difference, right? And so that was the idea, is like have respect for Americans. They're not actually your culture, because your culture is one of fracture. You don't actually know what you are. Let's go to church. And I just find it so relatable to what you were talking about with that person, Molly Berger or whatever. What was the name of that person?
The writer.
Rosalia? Or
Butterfield?
Yeah.
Butterfield.
What did you say?
I knew it was a weird last name, so I tried. I tried. Butterfield.
Say something about a burger?
What did I say? I don't know.
Something burger.
They're both foods, okay?
Sometimes when I just try whatever comes to my mind, it actually is the thing. So
It usually works out.
like 1 out of 5 times. Anyway, what did she? So she's going to churches. She's trying to understand this like rise in people attending churches, and then she finds herself like, oh, now I'm Christian, and that's not where Anne is. And it's not where I am either, because I am like a total wolf in sheep's clothing by Protestant standards. I am not a real Christian. I think that biblical literalism is a disease that has ruined Christianity. And I think that Matthew is like one of the good ones, and that he thinks that he can reform this thing. And I'm very skeptical that he can do much with Protestantism. But Catholicism, I think at its best, is performative. At its best, it's not full of a bunch of literalists who are sitting there going, but what do you really believe? It's a bunch of people who are like, hey, you're here, you're eating the bread, good job. You're part of the thing. So they're less anti-intellectual, they're less gatekeepy, they're more universalist, and at their best, it's a big tent. And it is one that is capable of changing over time. And it does terrible things, becomes a tool of empire in the most extreme possible ways, and keeps evolving the way that institutions evolve. And so as long as we require institutions on this planet, and we require religion, I'm glad that Catholicism was able to protect Europe from Islam. And I think that's a kind of crazy thing to say nowadays. People go, oh, that's Islamophobic. No, I think Islam is great. I want everyone who's a Muslim to keep speaking Arabic, and I want them to keep reading the Quran, and I want them to be able to do what they do, and I don't want them to invade Europe. And so That's great, and also, I'm not saying that every immigrant or refugee coming is also an invader. I'm not on that bandwagon, though London's got some issues. And so there is like a real concern. There's a sanctity of that concern when people are concerned about the state of London, for instance, with the refugee crisis there. There's a sanctity to the concern. It doesn't mean that the articulation or beliefs associated with it are correct. And I'm not really able to judge. But what I can say is that this big tent approach that puts ritual first and tradition first, and that has been able to hold the line against castration culture and capitalism more than any other institution on the planet, is admirable. And also that as a person who was epistemologically gaslit and socially blackmailed by crazy people who are Protestants as a child, and by a culture that is that way. And by the way, epistemological gaslighting is when you tell a person they should be able to believe something that they actually should not be able to believe, and that actually it's very certain when it's not actually very certain. And actually you have to do it because, and here's a social blackmail, if you don't go along with it, well, if it's not hell, and because you're not going to be in heaven, well, you're at least not part of the community of Christ. You're the special people inside of this roof. You're just actually like an outsider. So it's like this judgmental, gatekeepy thing that I don't think Matthew is a representative of. He thinks it can be salvaged. I don't think it can. I think that American atheism and American Protestantism are the same thing. I think that they're two sides of the same coin. It's called literalism. And that literalism is pseudoscience. It's people trying to do propositional truth standards and frames in the realm of the transcendent and in the realm of the mushy human feely stuff that is supposed to be something about all of us getting on the same bandwidth and the same calendar, schedules, and form of lives beyond capital. And that the only institution currently capable of doing it is not the one of fracture and the one of epistemological gaslighting and of social blackmail and of, oh, well, you're just a wolf in sheep's clothing, you're just a performative Christian. Actually, performative Christianity is correct. And Jesus said that you will know them by their fruit, not you will know them by their creed, or you will know them by whether they do or do not check X, Y, and Z boxes down the list. Catholicism also has its creed, obviously, and I say, I do believe. It's like, okay, well, a lot of people do think of that in terms of propositional truth, and they are saying that they believe things that they shouldn't say, and they are going along with the epistemological gaslighting and social blackmail, and that is a problem within Catholicism as well. But 60% of Catholics, which I think are like 2 billion people on this planet, don't actually believe in the real presence. And then people say, well, that's a problem. The presence is the idea that when you're doing the Eucharist, like you're actually eating the real flesh of Jesus. And like 60% don't believe that? Well, no fucking shit. It's a fucking cracker, dude.
And grape juice.
But if I say I believe it, the point of performative truth is that the measure of it is pragmatic. The measure of it is pragmatic. And that's not a reduction. That's not a simplification. That's not an instrumental thing. It's not like, oh, well, that's just pragmatic. They're so cynical. No, it's not cynical. It's beautiful. It's actually what humans are pragmatic, and humans are performative, and language is performative, and meaning is performative, and the best things about us are performative, and Jesus was performative, and the apostles were performative, and the saints are performative, and if some of them along the way literally believed the things that they said, cool, great. I don't know. I can't get inside of their heads. But what I do know is that you're known by your fruit. And your fruit isn't a result of the things that you literally believe. Your fruit is the result of the life that you perform. And so if you live in accordance to Christ, then there you go. They got the claim on you. That's all that matters. And you're part of the big tent. You don't have to go through OCIA and become a Catholic, but like I did. And I didn't plan on becoming a Catholic. That was a total accident. I didn't mean to do it at all. And I was going to write a Substack post about it, but it's too weird. And I literally don't know how to process it.
I was really uncomfortable when you were saying all that stuff in support of Catholicism, but dang, dude. That's scathing. That's
Yeah.
That's hard to refute.
I don't know if the Pope would agree with me, guys, but like I'm just saying, I think that he did take a class from John D. Caputo, and John D. Caputo's point is that you do not insist on the existence of God, you insist on the insistence of God, and that the point is not that God is, then that you live as though God is. No, it's actually I just kind of said it. The point is not God is, the point is we live as though God is. And that doesn't mean God isn't. It doesn't mean God isn't. God could be. And I'm agnostic on this front. But my whole life I've been agnostic to my bones. My whole life I've been like, I don't know, and I'm being honest. And they're like, well, you do know, and you can know, and look, right here, it says right there, see? It says you can know that. I'm just like, it's a book, guys. It's a fucking, it's a fucking book, guys. Like, come on. But it's not just a book. And that's the thing, is that I do believe that every culture, in order to have a culture, does require texts that are sacred or treated as though they're sacred, which, by the way, performatively makes them sacred. If you treat them as though they're sacred, then they are sacred. And then what does a sacred thing mean? It means that it's non-negotiable. This is special. And it means that insofar as we have a culture, it means that we are in fidelity to the event of this text's existence and insistence on us. And so realizing as an atheist, like, oh, I am a Protestant. Like, atheists are Protestants. It's a reaction to Protestantism. But it's a symptom of Protestantism. It's Kierkegaard's fault, you see. It's this Protestant, it's like, well, they're just going to, Kierkegaard, childless, woman-hating, fucking incels, like, I'm kidding, I love Kierkegaard, but, you know, he's like,
I was like, whoa.
no, but he's just like, he's like, oh, those people, sheep, going into that church, they don't really feel it. I'm so religious, and I have such a relationship with Jesus Christ that I'm too good to have a church. And I'm just like, I don't think Jesus likes you very much when you think that way, dude. I don't think he likes you very much when you think that way. You should have probably married that woman and just calmed down. And so Protestants are a symptom of the printing press and people thinking that everybody can get enlightened, but everybody can't get enlightened, and we actually just all have to get along. So, thank you.
It's less aggressive.
I don't
if
know
you
how
snap,
you
actually.
follow that whatsoever.
Yeah, really.
I followed all of it.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to respond, but thank you for doing the honor of spitting straight fire at me.
It's not at you. You're not the guy.
I don't know.
You don't epistemologically gaslight and socially blackmail people.
It's true. I do
on
not
a few
do
of those
those
points,
things.
dude, you were like,
Oh.
so Matt.
There was a little.
Yeah.
But no, I want you two to keep talking for at least several decades and work this out for real.
Yeah, let me know when you guys figure that out. And
What do I gotta follow? Yeah, just tell me what to follow.
I'll pick the winner's side.
I do
I
want
like
to
his
bring
God
it back
better.
to Moloch theory, though, because that was what Ezra was going for in the beginning here. And, like, I think that this is... Here's the thing. I could have a totally different position 2 years from now, right? Like, they, them pronouns in 2019, performative Catholic in 2026. I'm in an identity crisis. It's my whole life. It's never going to change. The only thing that will stay the same is right here. But outside of that, I mean...
He
it's
gestured
like,
at you, Ann.
Yeah.
All right.
Her baby, actually. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, it is us. Yeah. No, it's us. And so... I could change, and I could be like, okay, but like even propositional truth is performative, and performative is like actually bad. Let's look at all the examples of bad things that happen when people become all performative or pragmatic. And it could get to the point where I burn out on this whole idea. And I'm living it out. I'm living it through, and I'm living it, and I'm speaking its truth as I see it.
I appreciate that about you for whatever it's worth, because I think a lot of people would look at your arcs, your switch-ups, and use that as a way to point to you don't know what you're talking about. But I think that it's widening your intellect and perspective and experience, and I love it. I love your openness to like I'm like that. Like I love being wrong. I love it. Like let's I need a clean slate. Let's be wrong.
Nice. It's really good.
Yeah, it's great. Let go or be dragged. That's sick. I think that's great for whatever it's worth.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the invitation through Theory Underground to attend church, perhaps, I mean, there was the invitation to kind of have the alien anthropology approach, but the other part that you didn't mention was like the humility, where it's like we're not to go in with this sort of like superiority, where we're like, oh, let's see what all the little people are doing or whatever, right? Like, and honestly, like, I think I'm struck by this conversation we're having right now, because like we're in a punk space, right? And I really do think that like what was the largest taboo, right? Like what was bigger than Christianity? What was more mandatory than atheism in those subcultures? I don't know, at least where I was. And so, yeah, it was like a real trip for you to make that invitation. And yeah, I think that, we've been talking about love. We've been talking about what we are for instead of what we are against. And I think, when you actually go and talk to people that you don't know, a lot of stereotypes and ideas about what's going on there just sort of crumble away, And I think for me, I basically have like no idea like what the outcome will be. But I will say that, I think a focus on identity for me really ended up being very dissociative, right? It's like I had to dissociate from whiteness, whatever that meant. Like that was something that was so terrible that I was constantly like trying to rid myself of that. I was not only non-binary, like I was on testosterone, I dissociated very strongly from my gender. There were just so many, and just like a general rejection of tradition. The idea that like there couldn't possibly be anything good in any of the cultures that I was from, right? Like that was just a crazy idea. And so I think there was something profoundly associative about walking into a church. And honestly, like, I can't remember the last time I felt so out of place. Like, I never went that I can remember. I'm like, oh no, I ate the bread too early. Oh, like, I'm just like, I don't know, like, the most basic things. I'm just like, I'm doing everything wrong. And everyone is so nice about it, of course. Like, and it's been a really fascinating experience to just have these conversations with people that take an interest in you just because you're in the same room together. That's kind of unusual. We don't have a plenitude of public spaces where we can sit down at a bench or at a table and have a conversation with someone. And so, yeah, I think maybe the last thing I'll say is just, like I've made all the mistakes really quickly and close together in my early 20s. And, I think, I've cheated, I've lied, I've stole, and not only that, but I like could justify all of it, right? Like through anarchism or through whatever. I made it like countercultural and therefore I could excuse it away. And I think like over time I realized like the toll that those choices were taking on me. And I think like that's kind of maybe the thing that's been the most surprising in, you know, looking into Christianity for the first time ever is just the amount of resonance with certain lessons that I've learned the hard way. And to see those things reflected is really striking. And I'm not sure what I make of it yet, but it does make me think like, was there an easier way to learn all of these lessons? But no, because I'm a contrarian, so I had to do it all wrong first.
Sometimes you got to touch that stove yourself, you know. Is it hot?
Yeah. Is it hot now? You know, etc.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Everybody, thank you.
For real. This
Yeah.
is really great.
Are you scanning it? Is that what's going on?
We have
like
to
you
close
ended.
it because we're like 15 minutes
We're
past when I
over.
thought we'd be done. And so, guys, I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for staying out this late. That shows to me like a hunger for this kind of thing. I hope that the next time we do something like this, it'll be better promoted by me and that we'll have a street team and stuff like that. And that also people who watch us on the internet will want to be at the next one. And that, like we said at the beginning, that this is going to really be a real part of like a new emerging movement for underground podcasting, and not just the kind of podcasting that's pandering to the niches of the post-class fractured mass, but is about the common love objects. And so I think there's a lot about all of you that overlaps, and that's why I really wanted to make this happen. And so thank you, everybody. Give it up for these people. Love you guys.
Good night. Stay safe, everyone. Okay.
We need to take these tables and put them in the back by the bathroom, and then we got to try to be out of here like before 11 because like that they don't stay past that time. We got the hell out of here. Yeah. Thanks, everybody.